What is going on, everybody? It is episode 601 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. After yesterday, I think we're going to try to make sure this is a chill, low-key episode. It's just me and Brett.
And
no
the
guests.
crisis meter is broken.
And the crisis meter, as it was yesterday, is still broken.
So I've gotten some. So you guys broke the crisis meter, which is, I guess, awesome.
Congrats, I guess.
Chris says it should be working, but it did not register the first two. So we're gonna have to play it by ear and take things as they go today. Hopefully, it starts working as the show goes on, but I can't guarantee that. But I will be keeping my eye on the amount, and I will set off crisis meters by hand, as I have the power to do so.
And same as usual, the 20 and over super chats are going to be read immediately. Correct. Or at least as immediately as we see them.
Yes, that will happen. And I suppose I could set off like parties automatically. I wonder if I can. I think I can actually set off like the money guns too. Like if I had to. Oh,
you can't.
Chris, okay, so that's really funny. Chris just sent $2, but I actually just set it off manually. So I don't think that's actually going to register.
Oh,
we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see as the crisis parties come through today, guys.
Okay.
So just keep an eye out, and yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun today. We're gonna have to wait and see. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, Jerry Seinfeld, if you've ever seen the show Seinfeld, I highly imagine that some people in our audience have seen such a show in their lifetime.
Never heard of it.
You've never heard of it?
I'm a Zoomer.
The show
I'm
about
an uncultured
nothing?
Zoomer. I've never heard of Seinfeld in my life.
Oh, looks like it did go off.
Oh, okay. That's a relief.
All right. Well, let's see.
I mean, I still only... I see that one in the spreadsheet, not the first two, but we will still get to the first two when we start reading the super chats.
Oh, and then the crisis meter.
It's fine.
Thank you, Chris. We're good.
Yay.
We're good. It's working. So what are we going to talk about today? Jerry Seinfeld, obviously the show Seinfeld, legendary piece of comedy that was on for a very long time, and a lot of people have very fond memories of. I put up a poll today. I said you can only keep one, Seinfeld or Friends. I don't actually know what our audience is. I think I know, but I'm not going to put my bets down yet. So we're going to talk about some comments he made about the death of comedy, which he blames on, what did he say, the hard left?
Oh, he said the extreme left
hard
and
left
PC culture, which I haven't heard this term PC in quite a while.
Again, as long as people on the right are the what do they call it, the far right or the extreme right, the left is the far left. We should be the tubular right on the right.
If you were born in 1954, how old are you? Math.
Figure it out.
He's 70?
No, he's 69. He's about to be 70.
Well, it says that yesterday was his birthday. He just turned 70 yesterday.
Okay, so he's 70.
That's crazy because he looks quite young for his age. For 70? That's crazy.
Yeah. He was out promoting his new movie called Unfrosted, which is the one about Pop-Tarts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Very serious.
So we're going to talk about that because he didn't just talk about the death of comedy. He was also talking about how the movie industry is effectively dead, too. He's just on his farewell tour right now.
Making 70, a Pop-Tart movie and riding off into the sunset.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about this brand new docuseries about the Carter family. If you don't know who we're talking about, we're not talking about Jay-Z. We're talking about
No.
Nick and Aaron Carter. Of course, Aaron Carter passed away last year.
2022.
It's already been 2 years now.
Yeah.
Okay. So he passed away. He drowned in his own bathtub. He had a long history of drug and substance abuse issues, but they're making this documentary because his brother Nick Carter is facing all sorts of allegations against him now. He was, of course, one of the members of the Backstreet Boys back in the day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I literally didn't know who Nick or Aaron Carter were until a couple of years ago, like when Aaron died.
Yeah,
literally.
There's an age gap here.
But I did hear about, like, I knew of the Backstreet Boys. I just didn't know that Nick was in the Backstreet Boys.
There's a very big super chat there from Trudy
Jones. Thank you for the big super chat. He said, here's the last 100 that YouTube wouldn't let me send yesterday.
fascist YouTube.
They're
preventing
trying
us
to
from-
keep us down.
They're trying to keep us down.
But
they're doing their best. They will not succeed. So we're going to talk about this because that new docuseries is on the way. Also, there's a follow-up to the whole... We tried to do a Britney Spears topic yesterday, guys, but it was very, very difficult.
It was a massive train wreck. Much like Britney's life.
It actually was quite indicative of Britney's life as a whole. It could have been used as some sort of like
that was
piece
probably
of art.
like all of us talking over each other and reading Superchats and the money guns going off is like all of her brain cells if there were a stage play. Well, her brain cells.
We're going to do a follow-up to that today. In which a doctor, a TMZ doctor, says that if it was up to him, he would just force medication on her, just shove it down her throat. That's
it's crazy to just like say that out loud these days.
Yeah.
But,
so we're going to talk about that. Also, guys, so there was some discourse going around. Was it yesterday or the day before between, it was like the Quartering and Lauren Southern, where they were talking about, you know, the future of AI girlfriends and what it's going to mean for society. But it folds into this story that was going around about a guy opening a VTuber bar
in Japan, I believe. Yeah, where you can speak to a two-dimensional VTuber. If you don't know what a VTuber is, you know what? I'm going to save that explanation for later.
Correct.
And I'll educate you about that.
So we got that. We got a bunch of other stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're kind of in like episode 600 hangover right now. Does it feel that way?
Yeah, like...
Yesterday was a very long day.
I got my voice back. Like, I was kind of raspy after yesterday's episode, but my mind isn't totally back.
You drink a lot of water, though. You should be fine, right? Like, as long as you drink a lot of water, doesn't that, like, help regenerate your voice?
I don't know.
Like,
I usually just have to not talk for a long time.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of other stuff to get into. It's going to be a very chill, relaxed. I already feel my brain kind of... Remember yesterday I made that comment? I said, like, we've had, like, 2 good weeks of shows where I felt like I've done my job reasonably well. Randy Johnson comment yet on Friday, notwithstanding, where I said that he played for the Twins. He did not play for the Twins. He played for the Mariners and the Diamondbacks. But in general, I felt like lately I've had good recall, good everything. The shows have been fine.
Sure.
Well, that means that we're set up for like a couple of weeks of like
a plateau.
It's about to hit. I can already feel it happening.
Right.
Like I was trying to say something there, and I'm like, what was I trying to say? I was trying to point out, it's like if we're the alt right, they should be the control left. Somebody used to say, but also like if they're we should be the tubular right. You know, that's
they're the radical.
Yeah, the radical. If Trump calls them the radical left, we should be the tubular right. It just feels. I'm not even right wing, but I'd be way happier to be part of the tubular right than the radical left.
Sure.
Yeah. So I got to get my brain working again. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be a lot of fun, guys. So if you're ready, Mary, we can just go ahead and get started. Ready?
Let's go.
Let's go ahead and get started. First things first. First of all, did you ever watch Scooby Doo? Other than
I was not allowed to watch Scooby Doo.
Yeah. Okay.
This is weird, right? Like, it's not even a supernatural show. All of the villains are just wearing rubber masks.
It's just an evil businessman trying to perform a land grab.
It's not Harry Potter. No. It's not wizards or magic or anything. There's no witchcraft. It has perfectly natural explanations for everything. And I still was not allowed to watch Scooby Doo.
Maybe your parents are just maybe mom and dad were just evil businessmen who didn't want you getting the wrong idea about what they did.
They
for
were
work.
wearing rubber masks all the time.
And I would have gotten away with it too.
Pop Culture Junkie just sent us a $20 super chat. I've decided that if I ever buy my own crisis meter, highly unlikely, I will make sure I get the 5-year extended warranty.
Weren't we just talking to someone yesterday about somebody who actually had?
No, Sarah mentioned that she, I think in a former car, she found out she actually had
an extended warranty.
Real extended warranty. So it does happen.
Those are real things.
Yeah. Thank you, Trudy Jones.
Thank you, Trudy Jones.
That's all to you. But maybe this is like the response we needed to Velma. So it's a live-action Scooby-Doo series in the works at Netflix.
Greg Berlanti is a very prolific producer. He did all of the Arrowverse shows over at the CW. Take of that what you will as being a good or a bad thing. Maybe it means that everybody will actually end up being good-looking. Well,
he's not Mindy Kaling, so that's a great start for anything related to this franchise.
And the sad thing, I was like, just bring back Freddie Prinze Jr., Matthew Lillard, Linda Cardellini.
Are they going to do it though?
No, they're like.
Do you really want all of those actors?
They had spoken at one point about wanting to do a third one and make it R-rated.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know why.
I don't like that.
Like, I mean, they were talking about this back in the day. Like, but like after two, after the second one, they talked about doing a third one around that time period and possibly doing it R-rated, just because the demographics, like the analytics, said that their audience for the movies was mostly adults, anyways. Really? And I was like, I don't know if you really. I mean, all that would have meant back then would have been like more, I guess, like probably sexual humor. I guess.
I guess.
Like, or drugs.
But it would be like it would be like if they were like, oh, let's just make Bluey R-rated because we found out that a lot of adults watch the show. Yeah. Like, yeah. I don't know if I agree with that premise.
I also like let's face it. We need to do away with CGI. I want a real dog. I want a real,
or just 2D animation like the show originally was.
Get a real dog and animate it so like it has like eyebrows and stuff like that. Like the really expressive eyebrows.
No, that's like Uncanny Valley. Just do like 2D animation. Why did that ever go away?
Well, we were talking about how like when they made Wish for Disney, what they should have done, because it was the 100th anniversary of Disney, they should have done a classic 2D animated movie for the 100th anniversary.
A spin on 2D animation, but still keep it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't look good. I don't like CGI either.
I would like to see a return to 2D animation. I think that would be great.
There's no doubt in my mind that there is a Bluey CGI movie in the works currently.
They've also spoken about how, like, for Disney, like, because of the direction Disney pushed their animation along with buying Pixar, the really talented 2D animators just aren't there anymore, or they've retired. Like, a lot of them have moved on to work on other productions.
It's like a lost art form.
It's kind of a lost art form because they're just not making movies like that anymore. Obviously, when John Lasseter left Disney, they had a big hole in their roster as far as actually producing those films. But we'll wait and see. I do think that even if you don't bring back any of the others, you bring back Matthew Lillard because he's perfect. That's Shaggy.
Okay.
Yeah. So do it.
We'll see what happens with that.
All right, guys, let's talk about this, because this is speaking of things that don't need to exist, like a third Scooby-Doo movie that was a horror film. This is another movie that doesn't need to exist. This is the first trailer for Mufasa, the Lion King. It's going to be in theaters December 20th of this year. I waited to watch it until now, so if you're ready, we'll just go ahead and watch.
I haven't seen it yet either.
Okay, we'll wait and we'll just go for it here. Oh, great.
Oh, the trailer for the trailer.
There's always the trailer.
It makes me even more excited for the trailer. This is for millennials, right?
Yes.
Oh, like 100%.
100%. Begins far beyond the mountains and the shadows. On the other side of the light. A lion was born without a drop of nobility in his blood. A lion who would change our lives forever. Mufasa.
So it's an Eat the Rich story.
The earth will shake. Destiny awaits you.
So, is there anything else? Oh yeah, Blue Ivy is Kiara in this.
So I already can tell you the main problem that it suffers from, in addition to the previous film, which is that the whole reason you make animated movies is to be able to draw extremely expressive faces that look almost human on animals so that you can connect with the character. Right? And you don't see
and this
that
just looks
here.
like
so there was one shot that looked okay.
The one where he's falling?
No, that one was worse. That's just like when he dies in the first one, and I started laughing because I just couldn't connect with it at all. No, there was one shot. This one. Okay, so that's not too bad.
Okay.
That one's fine.
It still looks stupid.
But like this one here, like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything.
It just looks like a cat falling out of a tree.
It doesn't do anything, right?
Which is what it is.
And when you're watching these movies, one of the hardest things to do is to connect with dialogue if you're not actually watching. There's a reason why people talk about actors who work well, who can do well with little dialogue and be emotive with their face. So if you're in control of the project from start to finish, imagine being like a director. If you could just be like, okay, I'll get this actor, but I'm just going to paint facial expressions on him so that I can have him express what I want him to express in the moment.
That's the future.
You could do that here, but because you tried to do photorealistic like they did before, I remember they keep calling this live action.
This is literally a glorified Nat Geo documentary.
I mean, kind of.
It's a glorified nature documentary.
And the CGI is the CGI isn't at the level. I think the first one honestly looked a little bit better than this one.
They were just like, F it, Mufasa.
Yeah. Like,
F it, live action Mufasa. Like, why? Why does this exist?
There you go.
And people obviously on the internet have already redesigned the movie to look way better.
Yep, that's the whole point, right?
Not like it needed to exist in the first place anyway.
And here's the thing. So I think right now with Disney's abysmal current year batting average, this is what it was when it started. It was sitting at 45,000 upvotes to 41,000 downvotes. It has since gotten much worse than that, ladies and gentlemen. It is now sitting at 150,000 downvotes to just 82,000 upvotes on the official Walt Disney Studios animated on the YouTube channel.
That's rough.
Not looking good for them with this. And I don't think that anybody, like, right now, they need something that's new and original. Like the next hit that they have, the thing that, again, if I was to try to like retcon for Disney and help them get out of their slump, it's not going to be with a remake of any sort. It's going to have to be with something original.
It could have been what Wish became.
If they had done the work.
If they had actually given it any thought or any care whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. But at the same time, we don't know how these remakes and reboots and prequels and sequels would be received if they were done in a way that is respectful of the audience and respectful of the source material. That might actually work, even though it's not ideal.
Yeah.
It might actually make money, but that's not what they're doing.
And nobody was asking for this. Like,
no
one was asking.
I was always puzzled by the millennial obsession with Lion King, but are even the Lion King obsessed millennials going to see this?
And I loved the original Lion King, but there's no reason. I also love the Lion King Sega game, even though
is this a musical?
Difficult. I'm sure it will be. Yeah, it'll probably still contain music.
You're gonna have weird, uncanny valley CGI lions doing musical numbers.
Maybe not.
It just doesn't make sense.
Carnell says, "Pull up the trailer for A Cat's Life if you want to cleanse your palate from that horrid, uncanny valley of a trailer. That was Mufasa. Mary will appreciate it. I'm certain."
I want to see it.
I don't know if we can do like 2 copyrighted things in one day.
We're gonna watch the Fallen Idols trailer.
That's 3 in one day is too many. This channel's gonna get taken down if we do that.
We're risking it, yeah.
We're already risking it here today. I have no severe interest in this. They said so. This top comment says, "Without a drop of nobility." So this movie literally retcons Mufasa's whole conversation with Simba, making him the first king of the Pridelands.
I don't remember any of the lore of it. Do you? I just don't.
Yeah. So all the comments here about him retconning his speech. From the original. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but like
that's supposed to make it like an underdog.
Yes,
story, undercat story.
In current year, that's because telling a story of somebody from privilege, which I guess this would be lion privilege.
But he was already an underdog because he's a kid, right? So.
Well, this is his dad anyway, so.
Well, yeah.
Dad before him, so.
The original Lion King though was an underdog story.
Correct. Well, because then his dad is dead and he's got to come back because of Scar.
Okay.
And he has to come back after being banished from Pride Rock for however long.
It's been like 15 years since I saw Lion King.
My favorite meme is still the one where it's like, my father's dead, I've been banished from my homelands, and Timon and Pumbaa are like, have you ever thought about not effing worrying about it? Which
is true.
Which is basically what the song is about.
Massive plot hole.
It's completely fine. Yeah, I have no desire to see this, but I knew when that line was put in there at the beginning that retconning and making it a current year issue, which really is like...
Is it?
Yes, that's making it a current year issue to make it about not... Because anything...
It's a class struggle among lions.
Literally, yes.
The most hierarchical creatures ever. Okay, whatever.
That's what it is.
That's fine.
All right, guys, let's... again, no interest from me. Disney continues their L's and their losing streak, but perhaps they will turn it around one day. Wink.
Yeah.
All right. What the hell is this
sure
story,
they will.
Mary?
Well, Coachella is still going on.
How the hell?
I wasn't paying attention, but yeah, Coachella is still going on. They had a fence topple over, and immediately they were stormed by a bunch of rogue hot dog vendors immediately coming into the property. This looks like an invasion.
There's money to be made.
When tragedy strikes, make your money.
They're taking over. Yeah, they got the bacon, the hot dogs.
That lady was cruising. She's like,
Yeah. Hustle. Is this the American dream?
yes.
I disagree.
There's probably so many. What can they do?
And you know what happens, right? They get in there and then that hot dog price just doubles.
And one person said literally let them cook.
Yeah.
Another one said unpopular opinion, but notice one of them, none of them are there to beg for money. They're there to beg for your business.
Okay, we got in the chat, COMG says the hot dog vendors are planned by Coachella. It's all pre-planned.
Even the fence toppling over is planned?
I mean, then that's great marketing, right?
That's
you feel like
crazy. You're like in
getting
the Hunger
access.
Games.
I like it.
But I saw someone quote tweeted and say like, somehow I feel bad for how pathetic they are, but at the same time I hate them.
Why are they pathetic? Because they're going to make some money?
I mean, I don't know if I have the way to articulate it, but it does look pathetic when you're running into...
That's literally the embodiment of going to the rat race. I got no problem
The
with
rat race, I mean, think about the fact that it's called the rat race.
I mean,
it's
nothing
a little
wrong.
bit.
There is nothing wrong with making money for your family. And I guarantee
all of these people are illegal.
They're still making money for their
Don't
for
care.
their family.
Don't care.
Go
back.
I have not.
Go back.
I don't work for ICE, so I haven't checked their documentation.
Someone make some calls.
I haven't checked their documentation personally, but if I am to operate under the assumption that Coachella wasn't hiring out illegal aliens to
I'm
do
sure
this,
they
then,
would never do that.
Yeah, so
because they care about
I'm assuming that these are all
the law.
legal citizens and that they're just making their money, and I got no problem with that.
Another guy who's just making his money is having hundreds of people watch him eat cheese balls in New York City.
So this is kind of like a weird version of wholesome, right? So
No.
I find this wholesome.
It's just
I find this
confusing.
wholesome. It's confusing, but I find it wholesome. It's a personal taste
Your
thing.
relentless optimism pisses me off.
I know. Well, you know, that's and your pessimism is why this works. You're pessimistic, and I'm more
Only in
optimistic.
New York would hundreds
The
of
only
people
problem
gather
I
to
have
watch
with
an
this-
anonymous man eat a jar of cheese balls.
The only problem I have with this is I take issue with the label of gigantic for that.
It's completely
jar.
a normal sized jar of cheese balls.
I'm
There's
not-
nothing gigantic about it.
I'm not trying to brag, but I think I could do that in the comfort of my own home, and I don't think I would need to wear a mask.
And you
while
know what
doing it.
else? He's cheating because you can see in the video that he dropped a ton of them all over the floor. He's not even eating all of them.
Let's see.
The unknown man claimed that he was allergic to gluten.
It's just weird performance art.
He is the cheese ball. He became the cheese ball. What do you do once he finishes, though? Once he finishes eating all of the cheese balls, does everyone just leave? Or do you, like, give him money?
They go to a Free Palestine march.
Do they go march for Palestine?
He says.
No.
Why would they take him out in handcuffs?
He said...
I mean, really, he could just get a permit and do this legally if he wanted to.
He
But that would cost
fulfilled
money.
his dream, quote unquote.
Yeah, well, a bunch fell out there. This is mad cheating. 5-second rule.
They're all over the ground. And now the pigeons are going to eat them. Look, this is stupid. The comments are saying, this is why I love America.
It is the most American thing I've ever seen.
That says something horrible about America.
Yeah, it does.
Actually.
No, but that is the nihilist millennial take that like everything great about America is also evil. Like I just see a dude who's doing something stupid and a bunch of people took 5 minutes out of their day to laugh along with him. And that's fine. But if the idea here is we're talking about the gluttony of America and that they're fat pigs, there's a comment to be made.
Is it the absurdity and meaninglessness of his art that is American? Because what about America?
We were talking the other day.
Is supposed to be absurd and meaningless.
We were talking the other day about people having meaning in their life and not going to a 9 to 5. This is this guy's life. He's like, look, I find meaning in going and eating cheese balls in Times Square or in Manhattan.
Nah, the meaning in his life is going to the pigeons.
Well, a bunch of it ended up on the floor. That is true.
This is so stupid.
I want to know why he's wearing a mask.
It makes me angry.
Why is he wearing a mask?
So that he can be anonymous, obviously. His life is going to be in danger after he's done this.
At least they're chanting USA.
After he does this, there's a target on his back.
At least they're chanting USA. Like, we got people out here raising the Palestinian flag at Columbia University, campuses being invaded. If it takes an entire jar of cheese balls to get people to chant USA, I guess you got to take your victories where you can get them.
Great.
It's not Rocky, but I'll take what I can get. I also don't agree. I don't think he's in pain. I think he's lying about that.
He's in pain. It's literally cheese balls. They're the same as packing peanuts. See, but when I eat packing peanuts,
You're the bad guy?
Then I'm the bad guy? Then I'm crazy. I'm unhinged.
I wonder if this
Everyone
guy
loses their minds.
I mean, wonder if this guy just maybe like this is just that company that makes them, and it's just like a weird stunt for the brand.
It's guerrilla marketing.
Yeah.
Now that would be the most American. That would be the most actually late stage capitalist thing ever.
What I just said to you about like about millennial nihilism towards America, that's what I mean.
You know what? Put this guy in the MoMA.
Yeah. And he had like a shirt with the company logo on there.
He did.
He was holding up a shirt with the company logo there, which means he could have just gone to like a store and gotten the generic brand, but he bought the name brand version of it. It's very clearly a capitalist move to get you to buy their brand of cheese balls.
Okay, you heard it here first. Approach everything with cynicism.
You do cynicism, I'll do mild positivity and genuine like, that's funny.
Cautious bemusement.
Yeah, that's gonna be my new phrase. Cautious bemusement.
Should
that's
we
perfect.
put it on merch?
That's
We're
now they're just throwing. Okay, those are a different brand. Maybe we're wrong.
Did he bring multiple jars?
No, somebody else was holding the other ones.
Oh. Okay. See, I would go to the TikTok Riz party. I would not go to this.
I would rather go to the TikTok Riz party.
I
if
have
it was
standards.
It feels like weird leftist art now.
Yeah.
Yes. Like he's saying that because he's actually commentating on how fat America is and our consumerism.
Yep. Spot on.
We are all cheeseball man. Maybe it's a Donald Trump commentary. Orange man bad.
Maybe.
Maybe he loves Donald Trump.
Did you see Trump's facelift?
I mean, I saw like he looks like he's on the Ozempic train a little bit now too.
Someone said
thinning out.
They cloned him. Someone said no, that's his twin that they bring out. When he wears the blue tie, it's the clone. But he just got a facelift.
But I thought he was already a time traveler. Maybe he's just coming back. Maybe the blue tie is when he comes back from another time period.
Oh, okay. The time travel version of him got a facelift.
Yeah. In the chat, AJ Clark says we are all cheeseball man. I'm with you, man.
Not me. No, I do not want to be associated with Cheeseball Man.
I love it. I'm sorry. It's hilarious.
Nope.
It's hilarious.
No, I reject this.
All right. Let's go and move on, and hopefully he's okay.
Speaking of Ozempic,
fantastic Segue.
Melissa McCarthy recently posted a photo on Instagram where I suppose people thought she looked thinner than she usually does.
She's also in trouble today because of comments on her stance on Israel and stuff like that. Oh no, I'm sorry. Amy Schumer. My mistake.
Different fat
person.
comedian chick.
Yep,
different one. Yeah. So Barbara Streisand commented on Melissa McCarthy's post. Probably a boomer moment. She said, "Give him my regards. Did you take Ozempic?" And she must have had like a boomer tech moment where she thought that she was DMing, but she was actually publicly commenting this.
I love the comment that says different kind of Streisand effect, but she's going with it.
Yeah. She is Barbara Streisand affecting you. That's like another level of self-own.
It's so
right?
weird how Ozempic has become this weird open secret that they're just everyone knows it's happening, as celebrities who have been bigger their whole lives are now just magically thin.
Well, as for this, I mean, she's just wearing a blazer that covers her body. She doesn't actually look thinner than usual, right?
I mean, a little bit in
Not
the face.
that I look at Melissa McCarthy all that often.
Perhaps a little bit in the face and neck.
Maybe.
I got to get on that Ozempic.
I don't know.
Got to lose some weight.
You're going to get on Ozempic and review it for us?
Oh, that would be
Ozempic
awesome.
review.
That would be really, really
Ozempic
funny.
vlog. It's just you throwing up.
And just to get magically thinner and more emaciated as the days go on, and I can't hold a thought anymore. Like my train of thought is even like worse than usual, as my body just is deprived of all sustenance.
Fasting brings clarity. Brings mental clarity.
true.
So you're actually gonna become better at your job.
Yep.
If you go on Ozempic. So that
All
would
right.
be fun.
I mean, I think she looks a little thinner in the face, but I don't look at Melissa McCarthy all that much. So
no one does. No one does. Not voluntarily, at least.
Doja Cat is in the news because she's maybe perhaps rightly saying that if you have children, just stop bringing them to her shows, because we've had this criticism of more than a few artists over time, right? Who seem to run shows that have adult themes, or I mean, the one I always think about is like Christina Aguilera wearing the dildo at the concert, at like the Pride Festival parade or concert in New York, and I'm like, there's children there.
Which you shouldn't be bringing children to Pride events anyway.
Yeah.
But it's weird for me to agree with Doja Cat on something. Actually, it's like kind of disconcerting. But here was her thread of tweets about this. She said, "I don't know what the F you think this is, but I don't make music for children, so leave your kids at home, MFer. I'm rapping about C-word. Why are you bringing your offspring to my show? Rapping about eating D and pissing on his V-cut. Leave your mistake at home."
And in only a way she could do, there's a lot of, less than kid-friendly
Leave your
language.
mistake at home. That's, wow. But I mean, good on her for at least drawing a boundary, right?
Yeah, between the kids and the adults. Why do they why do the parents? Maybe it's because we live in this age now where like the women who like have kids younger, then they feel more like a sister to the child than an actual mom. So they want to go do things together. It's like, don't bring your kids to the Doja Cat concert.
Because they have no like paternal authority in the household who can draw a boundary anywhere, I guess, which is not ideal. I mean,
Dad isn't at home to tell you maybe it's not a good idea to bring the kid to your degenerate concert,
or maybe tell his wife not to go to a degenerate concert in the first place, which
or
is
a
whole other thing.
If the husband was at home, they could maybe get a babysitter and they could go together to the degenerate concert.
How about no degenerate concert?
I mean, I have no problem with the degenerate concert. I have a problem with the kids at the degenerate concert. So maybe leave the kids with grandma for a night. I'm not saying do it all the time. But, hubby and wife, you too can go to the degenerate concert and it'll be great.
I'm of the opinion that you can't have a society of degenerate adults without children getting exposed to degeneracy. It's literally a trade-off that you must make. But there was recently this video of this pregnant mom. She's pregnant, like 6 months pregnant at a Drake concert.
Oh, I saw that.
A lot of people were saying that she shouldn't have been there, but she explained herself saying, I'm going to this Drake concert while I'm pregnant to make sure that my baby is born cultured.
So gone are the days of playing Mozart for the kid. And now you play
Which was
Drake.
probably BS in the first place, but Yes.
That is one of those, like, maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, because that's just one of those things. Is
there a scientific basis
every
for that?
movie and TV show would cite this thing that says, like, your kids will grow up smarter if you play them classical music, and then everyone just kind of accepted it as fact. But now, in the age we live in, where everybody understands that the experts are oftentimes full of BS, maybe that was just one of those things where there's just a dude who really liked Beethoven and was like,
he was
look,
just a Beethoven stan.
yeah, and he's like, look, play your kids Beethoven, and they'll be all the better off for it. Look, if I want to play my kids Mac Dre, is my kid really going to be worse off if he's in the womb still? I can't say. I highly doubt it's going to affect him.
Some people don't even use swear words around newborns.
Yeah. Do you think there's like some logic behind that?
I don't know.
I have like
I just
no
don't know.
Like I have very. Like,
well, no one remembers being 2 months old.
Do you have a lot of memories from when you were really young?
Yeah, but not newborn. Yeah. I mean, obviously, no. Like, that's impossible. But I definitely remember, like, younger than 3. I remember my second birthday party.
Right here, Courier626 says classical music forms more neural connections between left and right brain.
Okay, I mean, I'm sure there was something to it. Yep. But should you be bringing your baby to a Drake concert in utero to make sure that your baby comes out
cultured?
I
mean, out of all the artists to bring them to, really, Drake? That's just Spotify rap. Like, bring them to something better.
No, it's worse. It's Apple Music rap. Yeah. That's the worst kind of rap.
It's like saying you bring your kids to, like, oh, so we're gonna maybe have Keno cornerback on the show. Bring your kids to watch like classical French films to make sure they come out more cultured. No, I'm bringing my kids to see the Fast and the Furious
anyway. But props to Doja Cat for protecting the kids? Question mark. I mean,
protecting the mistakes.
Protecting kids from you.
Yes.
From yourself.
Doja Cat has to be the voice of conscience in your family.
Yeah.
You might be doing something wrong.
Society might be doing something wrong on a mass scale.
Speaking of doing something
mistakes.
wrong.
Mistakes. Chris Hemsworth made a mistake. He says he still can't forgive himself for Thor Love and Thunder. He said, I got caught up in the improv and the wackiness. I became a parody of myself. I didn't stick the landing. And he already admitted to GQ last year that his 4th standalone Thor movie was too silly for its own good, and the misstep still continues to haunt him.
You know what I get the vibes of from him a little bit? Is that I remember watching this video that I think I've mentioned it on here. It was like Keanu Reeves would do like one good movie, one bad movie, one good movie, one bad movie. And it was like he would agree to do the movies that his friends were making, even if though they weren't that good. Like maybe he's just too nice. And he's like, he didn't want to step in and be like, maybe we're getting a little too silly with this. Maybe we should reel it back in.
It sounds like...
Because Ragnarok had a fair amount of humor that I thought was fine, but still probably went too far. I wish they took the character more seriously, but a lot of people were left with a bit of a bad taste in their mouth because they felt like Thor and Thor the Dark World. Every time I say Thor, I feel like I'm saying sore, but with a lisp.
What was it like seeing your Thor ass on screen for the first time?
Yeah. Like a lot of people believe that those were too serious, or at least too boring. Maybe not too serious, but too boring. And then they went the other direction with Ragnarok. I would have argued that, like Ragnarok, the best thing about it was more the trailers than the actual movie.
Okay, silly is not the opposite of boring. You can be silly and boring at the same time, which is exactly what Thor Love and Thunder was. And it seems like he was more of a pushover because he says he grew frustrated with his character while playing him in 4 standalone Marvel films. He felt like a security guard and he would read other people's lines saying they got way cooler stuff, they're having more fun, and what is my character doing?
No, this is a problem. So a lot of characters, like back in the day, I'll give you an example, like in pro wrestling. So it was very, very well known, especially back in the heyday of wrestling in like the 90s, that the top guys were very, very protective of the characters they portrayed. Meaning like the best performers, the ones who drew the most money, made sure to do as much as they could to have as much creative control over their character as possible. Like, I don't want my character losing matches more. I don't want my character having to do all this stupid stuff because it hurts my ability to stay relevant. So Hulk Hogan was notorious for that. Stone Cold Steve Austin, for example, did the thing where they wanted Stone Cold Steve Austin to lose on television to Brock Lesnar. And like, this is like when Brock Lesnar was fairly new and they were building him up. And he's like, you want me to lose on television rather than doing 6 weeks of build and having me lose at a pay-per-view, which makes sense, right? You draw numbers from it. You do business. He was smart enough to walk away at that time and say, I'm not doing that. It's bad for my character. It's bad for business. What Hemsworth needed to do is say, I get what you're saying, but this is a bad idea and I'm not doing that.
I don't know. I mean, once you're part of a machine like Marvel, you really don't care.
Which is what we say all the time.
Anymore,
like,
because not even Marvel screenwriters care about the story anymore.
But Robert Downey Jr. was given a fair amount of, his character was treated with a lot more reverence than Thor was.
This says Robert Downey Jr. Says, first off, Thor as a character was super tricky to adapt. Lots of implied limitations, but he and Kenneth Branagh figured out how to transcend, make him somehow relatable but godlike. Hemsworth is the most complex psyche out of all the Avengers. He's got wit and gravitas, but also such restraint, fire, and gentleness.
So actually, that's an interesting point. So I did a review, guys, that went up today for the show Knuckles. And one of the things that, one of the strong points of the show was that whenever stupid Wade Whipple delivers a stupid line, and then Knuckles delivers his line very deadpan and serious, right? Because he's a warrior. That's a great dynamic. And one of the great things about early Thor was like, he's like, there's all of this ridiculousness of human characters, and then he's here from another place who's very clearly of royalty and speaks in a different tone than everybody else, like a fish out of water. That worked great. Like, I would have I mean, you can't do that forever because eventually how much time are you going to spend with people here before you adapt? But I liked that aspect of it. And the problem with it in Knuckles was that he just wasn't on screen enough. But with Thor, they couldn't carry that on throughout the whole series.
Well, look, I mean, I understand the humor, the style of humor that they've turned to with all these Marvel movies. It's abysmal. It's a terrible problem that they need to solve by getting rid of it. But the main problem with the Marvel movies they're putting out in this phase or whatever is that they are emasculating all of the men. They are kicking them out of the way and using these movies as a vehicle to do so. With Thor Love and Thunder, I know you didn't watch this one, but I unfortunately did. And the entire point of that was Jane Foster. Yep. And the entire point of Ant-Man Quantumania was, his dumb daughter. I don't remember her name. And then the whole point of Wakanda Forever was, I forget her name too, but you get it. With every single movie they're putting out, Shuri, yes. With every single movie they're putting out, the actual purpose of the plot
Take the male
is to remove the... Honestly, it usually is a white man. Remove the white man, replace with white or minority woman, and that is the purpose of those movies. That's the problem with them. Not necessarily just all of the goofy slapstick Reddit humor. It's primarily the fact that they're kicking out all the characters that they were popular for.
And the sad thing is like they're actually making it 100 times more complicated for themselves due to ideological reasons. That take a strong male character, give him obstacles to overcome. You can give him strong, and that's the thing. You don't have to get rid of the strong female characters. You just make them complementary to them, and you don't allow them to overrun the screen time in a movie with his name in it.
Honestly, no. F it, get rid of the strong female characters. I'm done. I just don't no more ground for them. No more territory.
Okay, you know what I would rather they did then? Use the villain, females as the villains.
I'm just saying they've proven themselves incapable of writing women as people, right? They've proven themselves incapable of even respecting male characters as people.
The last two movies we reviewed Ghostbusters and we reviewed what was before that?
Oh, don't expect me to have long-term memory.
But in general, you're right about these takes on it, and I think most people understand.
Was it
Argyle? I mean, even Argyle. That's a fantastic example, right? So you had a female character that for who she was, the most likable aspects of her character wasn't when she was being a strong, independent woman that was better than the male characters. It was when she was a strong, determined female who was alongside a male who was also seemingly competent at his job, though it was more in a comedic tone. And the second they got rid of that and they turned her into a super spy, it became immediately uninteresting.
At least there was some complexity to that character. Once you have the backstory, it at least makes sense. But not every female character can act like the super spy warrior who is super intelligent and competent at literally everything, and somehow, even though they're a human being, doesn't feel the emotion of fear. Like, you can't write all women like that. Yeah. And honestly, I would just prefer none of the women to be written like that, ever.
Well, we've had enough of it
no more.
Like, to last a lifetime.
Yeah, we've had our fill.
Years.
Never mind.
And
we didn't want a strong female character. Never mind.
I just feel like there's a way to do that. Like, I would rather they did it with the villains. They did it with the villains.
At least, like, that would make a little more sense, sure. And you don't need to like villains, so it's fine.
And I enjoyed Argyle the first half way more than I liked part 2. Oh, like I'm trying to think like when we watched Bullet Train. Like, that's not even like a strong male character necessarily. He's kind of bumbling his way through it, but it's still good.
I don't remember it well enough. I just remembered that I liked it. But that was a female villain. Joey King plays a female villain in that, and she still seemed like a person.
And
she wasn't just uniformly evil. She like had a backstory that made sense.
And you didn't need to find somebody, like, even given like the way her character behaved, like using the characters around her, she didn't need to be physically imposing.
She uses her unassuming appearance to manipulate people, which is more of a female tactic anyway.
Which opens up your casting department tremendously. Yeah. Rather than putting in like somebody like a Natalie Portman as Jane Foster with fake muscles.
With CGI muscles.
Like, there's just a lot of stuff.
Who do you think you're fooling?
I just think that there's a lot that could be done. Oh, somebody mentioned Tomb Raider, but Tomb Raider is different. Tomb Raider was strong of her own right and her own character that wasn't being taken from somebody else's lore. The whole point is you're supposed to buy into her from the very beginning. And that works because she's not like, there's already a lot of leeway that has to be given if you're going to buy into somebody being like, I'm going to a movie about this character, and then psych, it's about somebody else. No, when you go to a Tomb Raider movie, you're going to see Lara Croft.
Or if you watch Buffy.
Yes. Or
she's a girl boss.
Exactly.
She's a girl boss for sure.
That's the thing. In Buffy, in all of those seasons, she absolutely is that person who can just kick somebody.
But she did get her ass kicked, once in a while.
Yes.
So it wasn't all like that.
And I point out all the time, it's like the way they handled Xander in that show was fantastic. Like, he is kind of a bumbling buffoon, but Buffy doesn't ever talk down to him.
Sure. She
doesn't treat him like a peon. He's treated with respect because she's his friend, and it's done in a really, really good way. There is none of that restraint that used to exist in Hollywood back in the day. And television is a whole nother world where I could give you 100 examples of well-done female characters that worked.
You literally have a list.
I literally, it's here somewhere. I literally have a list. I posted about the show Continuum last night, and I said the character of Kira that Rachel Nichols portrays is somebody who is both unbelievably resilient but extremely vulnerable in the show, and that is a hard combination to mix together and not screw up.
I don't know if we're going to talk about this tomorrow, but I just saw this headline. Avengers directors say Marvel's recent problems aren't due to superhero fatigue. Yeah. Okay, these narrative changes are giving me whiplash then, but Marvel's problems are due to a generational divide about how you consume media.
I mean, what does that even mean?
They will just say anything to not blame themselves.
So am I supposed to believe that phase 3 was so long ago that all of those people just retired and are dying?
It's a Hollywood-wide issue, not just a Marvel issue, so they're not to blame.
Yes.
Perfect. It's a reflection of the current state of everything. It's difficult right now. It's an interesting time, said Joe Russo. I think we're in a transitional period and people don't know how they're going to receive stories moving forward or what kind of stories they're going to want. There is a generational divide about how you consume media. There's a generation that's used to appointment viewing and going to a theater on a certain date to see something.
Five Nights at Freddy's
it's
made
aging
a ton
out.
of money.
Meanwhile, the new generation are, I want it now, I want to process it now, then moving on to the next thing, which they process whilst doing 2 other things at the same time. You know, it's a very different moment in time than it's ever been. And so I think everyone, including Marvel, is experiencing the same thing, this transition. And I think that really is probably what's at play more than anything else that we could be to blame for. I said the quiet part out loud for you.
They're wrong. I mean, it's the stories they're choosing to adapt that don't appeal to the new generation. Five Nights at Freddy's made a crap ton of money, and it was released on Peacock on the same day.
And Gen Z
went out
clearly was the audience for that.
Yep.
He just sounds like a clueless, out of touch boomer. So he continued, this new generation of moviegoers communicates largely through memes and headlines with nobody reading past 2 sentences, so everything's 100 characters or less, or 10-second videos on social media that you swipe through. So the 2-hour format structure that goes into making a movie is over a century old now, and everything always transitions. So there's something happening again, and that form is repetitive. But it's hard to reinvent that form, and I think this next generation is looking for ways to tell their own stories that service their own sort of collective ADHD.
Well, that's not working, because if the idea here is that, like, what, they're not going to theaters now, but they will watch stuff on streaming. Well, that's not true, because nobody's watching the Marvel TV shows. And are you telling me that Phase 3,
delusion.
that Marvel Phase 3 was so long ago that all of those people suddenly died off? They just died. They're gone.
Oh yeah, and then Gen Z just materialized out of thin air and showed up
Let me
one
guess.
day.
How far down that statement until he says it's COVID's fault? It's COVID's fault.
Well, let's hear some more cope from Anthony Russo. He said superhero fatigue has nothing to do with superheroes in particular. It's just fatigue in general. The superhero fatigue question was around long before the work we were doing. So it's an eternal complaint. Like we always used to cite this back in our early days with superhero work. People used to complain about Westerns the same way, and they lasted for decades and decades and decades. They were continually reinvented and brought to new heights as they went on.
Nobody wants you to, you know what the problem is? You keep going back to this stupid phase of deconstructing superheroes and giving me Shalabal rather than Norin Rad with your stupid Fantastic Four movie. You're deconstructing, you're choosing characters that the mainstream audience has no idea exists. This is a writing problem. It's an ideological problem. It is not an audience problem. If you don't think that people won't show up for another Captain America movie that was like Winter Soldier rather than whatever they're doing with Brave New World, where you race swap him and put in Falcon instead of Captain America just because it was done in the comics for a couple of runs, nothing to do with it. Go back to the traditional characters.
They're retooling like a blip on the radar.
This is not rocket science.
Into $1 billion movie.
Ideology prevents them from doing the simplest formula that they know will work.
There's more if you want me to continue. There's
what else
more and more and more cope. Like it's literally just a mountain of cope. So the Batman villain Paul Dano recently made headlines saying that superhero fatigue is maybe a good thing. Everybody has to go, okay, what now? Hopefully from that, somebody either breathes new life into comic book movies or something else blossoms, which is not
video
superheroes.
Games. Video game movies.
It's
video game movies. That's what it is. You're on the outskirts here.
What else?
What my hope would be that you enter kind of a golden age for video game movies, and they become more selective about the comic book movies they make so that you get less of them, but better ones.
The issue, I think, with that idea, as nice as it would be to have a golden age for video game movies, it's that the fan base for video games is just as hated as the fan base for comic books or superhero movies.
Hollywood hates them.
From Hollywood's perspective, it's literally the same people, might as well be. And it's mostly that they hate males and specifically white cis straight males. So it really doesn't matter because they're gonna F it up anyway if it's for the same audience in their eyes.
And
then
there's
Joseph
actually a
Quinn,
very long history of failed video game movies, just as there is for comic books.
Joseph Quinn, who is playing, who is he playing in Fantastic Four again?
I don't remember.
I think he says Johnny Storm.
Is he playing Storm? Okay.
Yeah, that's So
I already forgot everything past Pedro Pascal.
he recently said that he's not concerned about superhero fatigue as he gets ready to make his debut. He said, with the story of Fantastic Four, it feels like we want to get this right. There are aspects of it that are very different to other Marvel films that felt very compelling to me. And again, going back to who's involved, Matt Shakman, of course, the director, is brilliant. The cast and the script is brilliant. It's really brilliant. I'm delighted to have this opportunity. So it's all just really brilliant. So it's all going to be fine.
Sure, it's going to be great.
I heard like the same thing from, what is her name? Nia DaCosta about the Marvels.
Another
before that came out. It's all really brilliant.
And
it's
she got? She got some big promotion now too. Like her next project is failing upwards as well.
Amazing.
Yep. We'll have to wait and see.
That's the name of the game.
Again, like we'll always be able to dissect these excuses that really boil down to either the writing was bad or the studio interfered so much they wouldn't let us write what we wanted and then inserted a bunch of junk that ruins our production. If you went back and you remade another movie like those original Russo brothers Captain America movies or Avengers Infinity War or Spider-Man No Way Home, which even though there are still people who criticize it as nostalgia bait, drew a ridiculously huge audience post-COVID, okay? There is money to be made with Spider-Man. There always will be.
Yeah.
It does not matter what generation we're in because Spider-Man is omnipresent in culture. It does not matter if you're young or old. Dudes will grow up and want to be like Spider-Man, to be like Peter Parker.
He just has that effect on people.
He does. and he's a merch cow anyways.
Yes.
I mean, that's what you use Spider-Man for. So, all right, let's go ahead and do cringe.
We kind of went like longer on that than we expected, but that's fine.
We'll have to make a thumbnail for that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What would you like to see? Let's just do cringe because you prefaced it again to me, which means it's probably pretty bad.
Kamala Harris was on the Drew Barrymore show. I think that explains all you need to know.
Okay, here we go.
I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now. Yeah. But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
Why do you do this to me?
Wait, is there more? She's grabbing her like she always does.
I saw a comment that said, "Why does Drew Barrymore interview everybody like they're like
it's a therapy session?"
No, like she has no money and the other person's a drug dealer.
Yeah, she actually does.
That I might actually be dead.
Kamala Harris.
I might actually be dead from cringe.
Was that worse than the Starbucks guy?
Yes. No. Maybe because like the Starbucks guy is awful because I have to look at it. This is bad
worse,
even if I'm not.
Kamala Harris or this guy finger blasting a Starbucks cup?
I can close my eyes to the Starbucks cup. I can't close my eyes to this because I'll still hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
trauma.
I think they might be equally as bad.
We could just call it trauma of the day instead of cringe of the day. Because it's usually traumatic.
Okay. Let's do some cute of the day. My goodness. Domestic tourist says, my best friend Scout just beat cancer but lost a leg in the process, completely thriving now.
Aww.
Well, Scout is living his best life.
This is a smiley dog. Nice.
That is very cute. Very regal looking. All right, let's do one more. And I'm glad that Scout is okay.
What of you?
Here is from Devin. Says, here you go. We decided to call him Toothless. He kind of acts like the dragon some days, so it's fitting.
That's cute. I like that.
If
I
it
like
fits,
the
it
reference.
sits.
He looks like Toothless, I think.
All right. That's very cute. Guys, go and submit your pets to hashtag PCC Pets. Tag me and the show in there so that I can get them on the list here. I'm doing my best. Sometimes I fall behind on it, but go ahead and do that. All right. Mary, why don't you tell us what the hell Jerry Seinfeld is saying?
Jerry Seinfeld just decided to speak out and join the anti-woke bandwagon. At least that's what I'm calling it. He says that comedy is being killed by the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying about offending other people.
You took issue with the term PC crap. It's too boomer.
Look, I don't take issue with the term PC. I just found it telling that he's using it because he's 70 years old. And nice timing talking about how the left is killing comedy in 2024 when other people already started fixing that issue for you. But whatever. I do believe anti-woke is officially a bandwagon because we were even talking about what was peak woke yesterday. We know that peak woke happened because it's been, on the downslide. Like it has been on the decline. It's falling out of popularity now. And finally, as wokeness is falling out of popularity, then people feel safe to start making comments about how they never liked wokeness. They were always anti-woke, but they just couldn't tell anyone. And I just find that really annoying. So he said this in an interview with The New Yorker. And it started because they asked him what he was doing during the pandemic. Right now, by the way, he is promoting a Pop-Tart movie called Unfrosted.
His first time directing.
Yes. I mean, I am excited to see Unfrosted, but let's go into the interview. I
do believe there's comments of him talking about this years ago about how comedy is hurt by this type of stuff. So I don't think it's just now, but I
don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said on Zoom they started having meetings about Unfrosted, and they would do a 20-minute warm-up, small talk. You just start laughing and having fun, and this is how comedy is done. You can't have anybody in the room who doesn't have the same brain disaffection. And they asked him, what does that mean? He said, regular people need courtesies and respect to converse and socialize with them. You can't say hostile things to them to their face, but comedians love that. And they asked, you don't get offended? He said, the offense is if it wasn't funny. That's the offense. And then he said, the other person is never offended if you insult them, rag on them or something. And he said, as long as it's funny, which usually insulting someone to their face is pretty funny. But we don't think that there's much value in everything else in life. Everything else in life is pretty much a nuisance. But if you can get a laugh out of it, it's worth it. That's the way you go through life. You only care about laughing and being funny. So clearly he thinks people need to have thicker skin these days, which isn't the first time I've heard that, right?
Correct.
There's a problem with sensitivity, but it's deep. It goes deeper than people just being sensitive. I think the problem is with people feigning offense and sensitivity when in reality they're just bullies.
And commenting on this, like he's been talking about this for years, but I think that maybe now it's become a left versus right issue, whereas before it would be about who's offended and not putting a political label on it necessarily. Like back then it would have just been, it wouldn't have been about the left is killing comedy. It would have been like, oh, look at these sensitive millennials who can't take a joke.
Right.
Like there's a difference there. It's just that now that's identified as being of one political party. Whether that's true or not, I think both sides get very offended when you say the wrong thing about people they like.
The people who are ruining comedy, in my opinion, are women who can't stop talking about their vaginas, first of all. Second of all, activists who put you on blast if you tell a joke that offends them or that they want to pretend offends them. And most of it is pretend offense.
He is right in one thing. Like they kind of tell on themselves by the amount of think pieces were written about why he's wrong, all from left-wing outlets, which kind of proves his point. The guy, did you see the one from The Guardian where the guy looks exactly like what you imagine the headline would look like?
The Guardian does their authors so dirty because they put the picture of them right
and
there.
It's just like, he's like, this is why Jerry Seinfeld is wrong about comedy being dead. And the picture's him like this.
Yep. They always do
let's listen to
the
his
arms
clip.
Crossed.
Let's listen to his clip on this podcast where he talks about what was going on here.
Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day, most people would go, oh, Cheers is on, oh, MASH is on, oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on, All in the Family's on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people. When you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's our thought about this joke, well, that's the end of your comedy. They move the gates, like in skiing. Culture, the gates are moving. Your job is to be agile and clever enough that wherever they put the gates, I'm going to make the gate.
He is right about the committees. He is right about when you make a movie now, and these things, first of all, during the strike, they were talking about the amount of writers they wanted in a room, right? So you have to write by committee almost by default now when writing a script. The dude who directed Joker talked about how he can't do comedies anymore because it's just not possible, and so he went into Joker.
Yeah.
Right? That's not unheard of these days. And for the most part, at the Hollywood level, when you're making something that's going to supposedly go to a theater and cost 50 to 100 to 150 million dollars to make, and we're talking about the budgets are ballooning these days. Why would a comedy cost that much to make anyways? They're going to be like, well, at the corporate level, they don't know how to do it any other way. They don't know how to just hand it to a dude and let him make it. They think that the best way to do this would be corporate bureaucracy and all sorts of fail-safes, which ends up being the problem, not the solution.
Honestly, I'm not entirely convinced that writing by committee is to blame here, because as long as it's a committee of mainly men and
but that's not what it means in Hollywood. What it means is a diverse group of people.
The problem starts when you bring women into the committee. That's the problem, right?
I mean, it doesn't just have to be that. It could be somebody who's offended by the racial terms of the joke.
If you're easily offended and you're a man, if you're an easily offended man in a group of other men, there is no way you're about to put your neck out on the line to be like, actually, like, we should actually change that line, or we should maybe replace that line with something else that's less offensive.
I believe that there is
like,
enough beta men in Hollywood
doesn't
that
want
it doesn't
to
matter.
humiliate himself in front of other men. It's the truth. But if there are women in the room, it completely changes the dynamic of a dinner party, a workplace, or a writing committee. It changes the dynamic. It does. And I think including women in these committees is actually a huge part of the problem, which a lot of people don't want to talk about because, again, it's mean.
The men in Hollywood are every bit as whiny as the women, so I don't think that actually.
But the women are making the men more effeminate.
If there are 3 or so, if you're in a committee room and it's more than one dude who says that pissed me off, that upset me, and everybody else is terrified of saying, "Oh, you don't have a right to be upset about this. It's just a joke." It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman; they're gonna whine, and it's going to.
It's not in a man. I don't even think it's in a man's nature to like be offended like that.
No, I believe that the people who get jobs in Hollywood, yes, I do.
The effeminate people in Hollywood, yeah, maybe the effeminate men who are running Hollywood right now.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But in the 80s, in the 90s, before we had quotas that forced women into these committees and into these rooms, I genuinely don't think that was a problem. I really don't.
Yeah, but I'm talking about now.
It's not. I'm saying like men start acting like that when women are involved in the dynamic, and it totally changes the way that men act. It's like ruining funny men by like including women in the conversation, honestly.
And
like,
when
that's
it wouldn't matter
my
anyways,
hypothesis.
even if it's not the writers, you're going to have people who work in HR, you're going to have people who work in standards and practices, you're going to have executives that will be women either way, or men that are just afraid of risk or taking a risk on a script like this, or on some type of script that takes, some shots at people. I know the conversation went off into all directions about who you're allowed to offend and who you're not allowed to offend. I believe that the men in Hollywood now, maybe not in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s, but the men that are getting these jobs in Hollywood writing now, because we're not in the age where meritocracy rules and the people who make it from movie to movie get there by basis of this was my last project, this was successful. They're dropped in there. They're saying we need 6 writers, and even if all 6 of those writers are men, and I don't believe that that's going to happen most of the time anyways, a lot of these guys are going to be coming out of writing programs in the 2010s at universities that are going to be just as whiny and just as offended.
Look, I'm just saying that's the way that men will act in a gynocracy. That is not the way men act. That is not who men are. It's not in a man's nature to be like, actually, that joke was really hurtful to my community. A man wouldn't do that. I think that a woman is capable of entering a situation, entering an environment of men, and completely altering the dynamic for the worse, which is why men's spaces should have never been disturbed in the first place and like basically turned into the longhouse. That's what it is. That's the longhouse right there. It completely changes the way that men act. And not only that, but women despise the men for bending to their will at the same time as they are, you know, calling the shots. It's really sick.
I don't see
toxic.
This right here as a gendered issue as much as I see it as a Hollywood ideological issue where they are so terrified of making jokes at the expense of anyone from a minority represented group that they can't do it. And even when the people in that group make the joke, then a white guy or a white lady is offended on their behalf.
We've got a $20 from Known Undesirable. He said, here's 20 to shut Mary up. Okay, Brett, you read the next one.
Oh, he says, Francisco Sanchez Jr. says, George Lucas was cucked back when he made Star Wars. Well, I mean, a lot of people would make the argument that when he made the prequel trilogy that he didn't have anyone telling him no, and that he should have probably had somebody to be like, hey, maybe you need to reel back on some of these ideas. But that's a discussion for the actual big Star Wars fans, which is not I look at committee writing, and it's just one of those things that man or woman, like there's a reason Tina Fey is successful. But also, like, think of like, you get a room together and it's you and one or two other people. I'm the same way about directing, that if I start seeing 5-6 names on a script the same way I feel when I see 2 directors on a film, I'm already suspicious. How can you go through something like that without it being sanitized? Because each one of these people is going to find something about it that needs to be changed. Because a movie's not supposed to be the vision of 5 or 6 people. It's supposed to be a story told by a small group who are all working towards a common goal. You can't get 6 people in the room on a regular basis and find that you're all working towards a common goal that's actually going to come out anything like what it was supposed to be when it was initially conceived.
Well, the union forces that, unfortunately, but
yep.
And a lot of internal company policies as well. But yeah, I think that he's just expressing what a lot of people are dealing with, which is when they watch a show that they used to like and they see an episode or they see a joke and they're like, they would never make that today. Mm-hmm. Literally everyone says that, and they say it because it's true. Mm-hmm. And that means that something has gone horribly wrong.
There's another 20 here
Sanchez
from
Jr. said, Mary can talk now. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yep. I don't see these problems changing because the restrictions are only going to become more prevalent, and all of the roadblocks that they put in to get stuff made are only going to become more severe, not less. They're not going to take the shackles off because they're taking the risk. So the Hollywood machine, the non-creatives are always going to think more bureaucracy is the right answer when everyone knows that that's really not it.
Mm-hmm. So. Let's go to Super Chats.
Do it.
Yeah, Chris sent us that test super chat.
Thank you.
There were 2 that came before it that I don't have here.
I got those here. We got Andrew Jacobs says, another T1 vote here. Eddie Furlong ruined T2. Look, I saw a great thing last night that I kind of agree with if you were to take the art perspective on the films, is that Terminator 1 is a horror film and Terminator 2 is an action film. In that respect, you are kind of right. But most people, just given the fact that it is a series, will judge it based on the fact that they're together in a series and not the fact that they seem to be of different genres. And then we have one more here from Shane H. Wilder who says, happy Taco Tuesday, Brett and Mary. Congrats on Tim getting y'all a new studio. Y'all are moving on up and getting out of the haunted attic. Well, we're not out of the haunted attic yet. In fact, I see feels like the stink bugs are bringing the ghosts back in here from time to time. But we are hoping that comes out well, and we'll see where that gets to when we get to it. So.
Shane H. Wilder also said, we broke the crisis meter just to give Chris something to do other than play video games. JK Chris, LOL, he works hard and plays video games hard.
All right. Well, thank you. Let's hold off on the rest and let's come back after the fact. Time to talk about the Carter Brother docuseries.
Yeah, the same studio that made the Quiet on Set docuseries is now producing a docuseries about Nick and Aaron Carter, specifically allegations against Nick Carter and remaining questions about the untimely death of Aaron Carter back in 2022. It says, at its core, Fallen Idols, the title of this docuseries, explores the accusations of SA against Nick Carter by 3 women, while also diving into his brother Aaron Carter's struggles with mental health and substance abuse, and the rift that occurred after Aaron Carter decided to support his brother's accusers. Fallen Idols premieres next month, May 27th. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it because it's not part of my childhood memories.
It would be very hard to get like a Zoomer to care about Backstreet Boys. And his brother.
It's interesting from the perspective of a Me Too story, right? Like a family member turning against a family member after they have been accused at the height of Me Too in 2017. That's when it all like started, dominoes falling for him. So let's wait for this crisis party to end and then watch the trailer.
It's a solemn crisis party because it's serious subject matter.
I'm still dancing because you have to dance. Okay.
All right, here we go. Let's watch this. Put this on here.
It's gonna be so dramatic.
Oh yeah. I cannot.
It all sounds like that, yeah.
Like it feels like she said his house down. Like it doesn't feel like it came from the same line.
That's what they always say.
For-profit truth.
It is for-profit truth. Like, I feel like I just can't take these things seriously anymore because as you can see from the trailer, which is why I needed to show it, they're trying to imply somewhat tastelessly that Nick Carter had some part to play in his brother's death, which officially speaking was an overdose and drowning. Yeah. They're trying to imply salaciously that he had something to do with terrorizing and possibly ending his brother's life.
I mean, I felt like what they were saying was that like defenders of Nick Carter were that more than him himself.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know if that's what they're implying is
really
that he killed a bird and put it out front of his house, but that a fan of his did that.
Sure, but still, like, I just feel like, you know, if it's not based on any facts that are verifiable and true, then, you know, you shouldn't have made the documentary. And as far as I can tell so far, from reading through testimonies from these alleged victims, like, there's no trial until later this year, I believe. Someone in the comment section said, this is during an ongoing legal battle and possibly less than a year before a trial starts, for one of them at least.
Investigation Discovery was just like, we've got money to make.
Let's go. Like, they didn't even wait until there was a verdict.
They never do.
And they also, you know, I'm not saying they're like ambulance chasing Aaron Carter, but it's definitely a little bit classless to make some weird speculations about his death. I mean, I saw that.
Is it different
after, like immediately after his death?
Is it really? I mean, it's just a more. I guess it's a more narrative-driven version of like what we're doing here, which is just talking about.
They're literally involving his brother and almost making accusations
through the trailer.
Through that trailer and the way that they edit things and the way that they word things, it just seems odd to me. So they are interviewing the 3 alleged victims of Nick Carter named Melissa Schumann, Ashley Repp, and Shannon Shea Ruth.
And they're all following civil suits against him right now, aren't they? Isn't talking about this kind of an issue for them? Shouldn't they be not doing this before the trial?
I don't remember if the trial was for all one 3? Or all 3 of them, actually, but and they're also interviewing an unnamed member of the Carter family and Nick Carter's ex-girlfriend Kaya Jones, who was in the Pussycat Dolls, and Aaron Carter's former fiance. So they were really digging deep for people to spill the tea about this stuff.
So so it was the girl from Dream that was in 2017.
Melissa Schumann, right?
Yeah, talked about it in a 2017 blog post, and then it was.
But that one, she says, I didn't go to the authorities. This happened in 2003.
Yes, but she talked about it in 2017.
She doesn't have any proof. She didn't go to the authorities. She only did so after Los Angeles changed their statute of limitations for sexual assaults. And that is when she went public and, you know, filed the lawsuit against him. But originally she made her statement in 2017 just because Me Too was happening and it was trendy to do so.
I wonder if this would have even gotten made if Aaron Carter hadn't died. At least not in this.
Probably not.
The narrative structure of the doc would change significantly.
Yeah,
or something
probably
like that.
not. I mean, why do you think his brother would be motivated to go against him publicly?
That's a
that's
good question.
there's
also questions like
normally.
one of the things that they don't really point out in the trailer is like for a lot of the people, like if you look at it from a court perspective, it's just they would have a hard time buying into it because Aaron Carter was such a mess at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just not going to inspire credibility.
Neither is someone like Isaac Cappy.
Yeah.
Like name or Orlando Brown or name the person, Amanda Bynes.
I find
whoever.
I find the true crime genre fascination really interesting because it really is turning real life tragedy into a vehicle for entertainment. Now, there's an argument to be made that when these documentaries are made, that if it really is about the seeking of truth, that could be a good thing. But as soon as money is involved and sensationalism becomes the name of the game for something like this, I don't know if it deserves the title of doing any type of public service. So that means that we're effectively taking real world human suffering and turning it into narrative entertainment, which is very different than reporting on the news or, you know, the articles that are written.
That's kind of what true crime entertainment is, basically. Even though it's massively popular, especially among women, you are essentially monetizing people's trauma, people's deaths, and human suffering. Like, there's no real way to go around that truth. But I just think that they should have waited until there was a trial because, you know, this is literally trial by public opinion. Instead of waiting for like evidence and testimony being presented in court.
It's always interesting because it's going to affect the you know, like who's in, you know, what information the public has beforehand. A lot of people will get their information secondhand from things like this rather than the court documents before they're even called. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. But ultimately, very sad that, you know, Aaron Carter's name has to be dragged into it.
Yep. And his death is sad. The whole thing is sad. But
yeah.
It also feels to me a lot of the times like there's like this concerted effort to go through everything that gave any millennial any sense of joy and
just tear it apart
and
for
destroy
fun.
it and say everything you loved, everything that you held dear in your life that was part of the American of the American empire when you were a kid, everything that made your life fun. It was actually evil, and you should be ashamed.
Yeah, every person you idolized was actually a monster. Every value that you held dear was a lie.
That's why I still, anytime anything comes up about Mr. Rogers, I go,
well, that's like, I mean, they're going to take what you love or cared about or have nostalgia for and tear it apart by stripping it of its innocence, essentially. And that's actually what they do.
Nickelodeon.
That's what they do, like when they remake things, when they reboot things.
Yep.
When they retcon things.
But you can't necessarily do that with the real life people, so you have to make the docuseries about how they were actually a monster.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So
not that we have any idea either way if he's guilty or innocent of these things.
For all we know, he's absolutely guilty of all these things. But since I can't know that for sure, all I can talk about are the tangential issues that come to it. And talking about his guilt or innocence or the Me Too issue kind of becomes, you know, repetitive after a while. There's other things that it affects culturally that are also interesting that can be discussed for something, because we're always going to come back to the Me Too issues. That will be a thing forever because degeneracy in Hollywood is going to be forever.
Yep.
So that's never going away.
But let's move on before we get ourselves into a lawsuit. Hypothesis said, go watch Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I mean, did you watch that,
Nope.
Brett? I didn't. I definitely didn't. Shane H. Wilder said, Mary, your parents just didn't want you to watch a cartoon about a bunch of potheads in a van hunting ghosts. But the ghosts were never ghosts.
Maybe
right?
Maybe it was the pothead stuff they didn't like.
It was only implied, right? Tao said, I have hopes for Mufasa, but that's just me. Also, Mary, I'm Gen Z and Lion King is my #1 film. Also, Brett, what did you think of Simba's Pride?
I never saw Simba's Pride. I always just laughed at the fact that they made a direct-to-video sequel anyways. And I don't know if anybody... There was one for Aladdin too, right? Like a Jafar-centered Aladdin sequel as well. Maybe,
well, I don't know. I wasn't allowed to watch Aladdin either.
What's funny is I guess it's the natural... it seems stupid, but it makes more sense that these days if they were to make Mufasa or they were going to make a movie based on Jafar, that they would go to Disney Plus, I guess, rather than straight to theater or going to theaters
Yeah.
Doesn't that make more sense?
I guess.
But IP is king now, even more than it was in the 90s, so they've got to go straight to the theaters where they're going to lose money.
Why make something with the intention of it being forgotten? That's what I don't understand. Shane H. Wilder said, Lion King is just Hamlet. Simba is Hamlet. Scar is the uncle. Timon, is that how you say it? Timon and Pumbaa are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. I didn't know that. Is that actually true?
Yes. I mean, yeah, that's a long-held belief that that's what it is.
Brewmaster Monk said, I wonder how many of those hot dog vendors owe money to the cartels. You couldn't pay me to eat those hot dogs. They are probably cut with fentanyl. Oh, no.
That's not good.
You don't know what they're putting in those hot dogs. It's true.
Let's do one more.
Carnell said, Cheeseball Man, Packing Peanut Girl collab. Let's go. I don't really want to collab with him, with Cheeseball Guy.
Why not?
I find him inherently distrustworthy. Pat the Plumber said, sorry, Marvel, but that excuse doesn't work. See Barbie and Oppenheimer to prove you're wrong. Exactly. If there are still movies in theaters capable of performing well, your take that movie going is fallen out of fashion is clearly, it's demonstrably just crushed. Like, it only means that people don't want to see Marvel movies in theaters. That's
Maybe
the only thing it means.
Is also that every year there's only going to be so many movies that are going to truly capture the public interest.
I mean, is that the case when there were certain years that produced so many back-to-back classics?
Less stuff that they were vying for your attention, right? So yes, when Terminator, I remember looking at this picture of all these movies that came out in 1984. It was all these
years
classics,
like that, yeah.
Alien, Terminator. I don't remember if those were, but it was a bunch of them, right? But back then, there wasn't YouTube dividing your attention or TikTok dividing your attention, and the social structure of how we consume entertainment is vastly different. So maybe the idea is when you have to marry them together. Remember, the reason that Oppenheimer and Barbie were as successful as they were had a lot to do with a mimetic ad campaign on top of, just kind of coming together at the right time, the right place at the right time.
There should be an incel movie where the mimetic ad campaign is that you have to go see it alone.
Wonder what that would be.
Yeah, to prove that you're a true incel.
Remember when all the Minions people were going dressed up in suits?
Oh yeah, but then they were they refused to go along with it and take it as a good opportunity for the movie. They decided they were gonna kick everyone out for wearing suits.
Lame. Let's do one more.
Pat the Plumber, Shane H. Wilder said Marvel is contemplating transitioning. That tracks.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yikes.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Britney Spears.
Yeah, believe it or not, we actually attempted to talk about Britney Spears yesterday. She just ended her court battle over her conservatorship settlement with her dad, Jamie Spears. And unfortunately, she's going to have to pay out $2 million to pay for his legal fees. And she's not getting anything.
Yeah.
So now I feel like TMZ has launched a full-on hit piece campaign against Britney. Because first, what I see from them yesterday is psychiatrist weighs in, needs new conservatorship, medication ASAP. So TMZ interviews, or I guess TMZ has a doctor that they interview when a celebrity is going through a breakdown. And they interviewed this doctor who said that if he were Britney Spears' doctor, he would force her to take psychiatric medications, which is kind of a crazy thing to say after we've heard about like handlers like Harley Pasternak that exist in Hollywood. This is literally Harley Pasternak's best buddy. I'm sure they hang out on weekends. So like, let's listen to him just saying the quiet part out loud.
What say you about what we're hearing now about Britney? Does this surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all, because the conservatorship was there for a reason. And even though, like you said, it might not have been, with the right person, the actual process needs to be in place, because when you have a mental illness to this degree, you need that kind of structure, supervision, and most importantly, to take your medication. And I think that's probably what's happened here. This is a no medication situation.
Why do you say that?
Well, because of the erratic behavior, the manicky spending of money, recklessness, destroying people around her. No one feels safe around her. No one can control her. She's out of control on many levels.
Doctor, so what is the answer then? How do you treat a patient that has those sort of issues?
Well, these kinds of situations
we pump
run
them
into
full
a
of
wall
drugs,
eventually.
obviously.
Either she'll hurt herself, she might hurt someone else, or she can be 5150 because she's not being able to take care of herself. And any of those situations will push her to a place where then medication can be given to her against her will.
You tell me if I'm wrong here. I don't see a world in which a judge would put Britney under another conservatorship because of the public outcry there was in the first case, whether it was misplaced or not. I just don't see that happening.
Well, I understand that, but at the end of the day, hopefully a judge would make the decision in the best interest of that patient. And if that's what she requires, even for a temporary amount of time, that's what she would require.
He wants to be the conservator.
I think it's the temporary amount of time she's terrified about, because a little time turns into a lot of time real quickly. Yeah. When it's like, oh, we got it under control. Maybe we can get it under just a little bit more control.
Well, in 2007, temporary was temporary, and then it wasn't.
That could even be made.
It's always temporary until it's
getting
not.
out from under the conservatorship was a horrible thing for Britney Spears, as we sit back and now obviously have watched what's happened?
Absolutely. Hindsight's 20/20, but look at it. She slowly is unraveling. And it was in place, and she wasn't unraveling. She might not have been happy, but she was stable.
What would you do if you were taking care of Britney Spears? What would be the first thing you'd do today to get her?
They just know what he's going to say.
Medication. Put it in her. If she doesn't want to take it, I would inject it in her.
Wow, that's
you were crazy.
There's no question in your mind.
No, she needs medication. She's out of control.
That is crazy that he just said that out loud. Like, he's not sugarcoating it at all. Like, he's just, yes, inject medications into Britney Spears against her will. This is the move. Like, how? What?
Oh boy.
In front of thousands of people, he said this, and rightfully, people were upset. So one person said, leave it to TMZ to stoop as low as having a Hollywood psychiatrist, he is licensed, by the way, who has never met Britney to psychoanalyze her. This is 100% a smear campaign. What ethical psychiatrist would medicate someone based on Instagram posts and tabloids saying you'd force drugs into her system whether she likes it or not? Your license needs to be revoked.
Well, this is where we get into the Hollywood aspect of all of this, which is that he's just Monday morning quarterbacking. Him saying this is not the same. Like, it's TMZ. This is for entertainment purposes, even if it is his actual opinion.
But the crazy part of it is that he is a licensed psychiatrist, not just that, a pediatric psychiatrist who works with thousands of children. And I saw, granted, take this with a grain of salt, this is from a Britney account. They said this doctor, Charles Sophie, who claims Britney needs a new conservatorship, was allegedly responsible for the deaths of multiple children. The reason they're saying this, I looked into this. This doctor, Charles Sophie, he's been maintaining a public presence, doing interviews with TMZ, doing interviews with Dr. Drew and other talk shows. He's counseling the Real Housewives. He's obsessed with fame. He's been doing this since at least 2011.
Yeah.
And it's been interfering with what his actual job is, which is, at least at the time of this article in LA Times, the medical director for LA County's Child Welfare Agency, where he is responsible for the mental health needs of nearly 20,000 foster children. Some people believe that because he's distracted with keeping a public presence, that his roles have overlapped and he is responsible for the fatalities of multiple children under his supervision. So I'm not saying that he is or isn't, but that's the narrative that I saw. And then second thing I saw from TMZ, which was totally unfounded, seemingly, Britney Spears completely dysfunctional and in danger of going broke. And they're saying this because what? She has to pay out $2 million?
I don't know if I buy that she's just sold, like her book just sold 2 million copies and she's going to get royalties on that.
Yeah.
I don't buy that she's in danger of going broke anytime soon. I also don't buy for a second that they would have an inside track on that would necessarily be one. Like if she's cutting everyone off and she's not talking to anyone, who are the people that are giving you this information, right?
The inside
sources.
TMZ always has the inside sources, right? So they're saying our sources say Britney is completely dysfunctional. She has radical mood swings that are shocking, we're told. And now that she's under no supervision,
look,
she has lots of freedom.
Is she paying?
And she's not protected anymore.
Her bills are paid. She's doing stupid stuff in front of a camera in front of her house, in her house, on her Samsung Galaxy S4 that always looks like crap, and she's acting generally weird, but for the most part, weird isn't a reason to force medication on someone. Now, if she is bipolar, is there a strong diagnosis? I don't remember. Is she diagnosed with a psychiatric condition that she is refusing to take medication for?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Right? So if that's true, then, is that not her right to choose not to take them if she is paying her bills and functioning in society? Weird behavior is not functioning. Not functioning is your car gets repossessed because you forgot to pay your mortgage.
Right.
Not functioning is you're getting in. Actually, I think she did get pulled over again recently.
She did.
I think it was like expired tags or something.
I thought that was Giselle Bundchen.
No, that was funny too though because she cried. That was because she was trying to get away from paparazzi, and then she got pulled over and got a ticket and was saying and she was crying, and all I could think is you're like a famous supermodel. I think you can afford the ticket. But what she was upset about was the fact that she got chased by paparazzi, which caused her to speed, which gave her the ticket. But
okay, Princess Diana.
None of the things that I see here, and people are saying it's ruined her life. I'm first of all, we're seeing minute, pieces of this woman's life, and a manic lifestyle does not mean that you put a random person in charge of you unless she's a threat to those around her.
There are a lot of unhinged celebrities out there who seem to be out of control, but no calls for their conservatorship.
Is she paying, I said car mortgage. Is she paying her car payment? Is the mortgage on her house being paid monthly?
There's no way that it's not. I mean, she does have a net worth of $60 million.
Yeah.
Remember that. If not more, I don't know.
Auto pay on the bills, and
she has people dealing with it. But they say in TMZ, we're told Britney has been spending a fortune and is in real danger of going broke. Our sources say she's been going to French Polynesia, staying at the Brando, spending close to $1 million each trip between private jets, hotels, staff, etc. Goes every month or two. We're told she also goes to Hawaii almost monthly by herself, taking a private jet, staying in the presidential suite at the Four Seasons, and dropping about $350,000 each trip. She can't afford this. She had $60 million when the conservatorship ended, and she is now where the conservatorship started, in danger of going broke. And as we reported, she has paid north of $4 million to her own attorney.
Again, fiscal irresponsibility does not mean that you inject her with drugs and force her to do something against her will.
Why does Harvey Levin hate Britney so much? Why is he? I don't know. It seems like TMZ has it out for her, kind of. What has changed since 2007? Really?
And I think the best thing she could do would be get the hell out of California or get the hell out of these places. Move someplace.
Keep your Instagram deleted permanently.
Get off social media. Move somewhere quiet and live your life again.
Yeah. Or join the circus.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong about all this, but I don't see this type of thing as like even manic behavior unless you're at risk of harming other people. I don't see this as like people mentioned the knife dance, which is supposedly not real, right? Supposedly those were prop knives. Even then, I'm like, being stupid isn't it does not mean you inject somebody against their will.
No.
In the documentary,
I mean, I think I've seen a lot of people calling for Kanye to get put in a conservatorship too. Which would, I believe, have just as disastrous results for him.
Yeah.
But I think he's worth more than Britney, right?
Yes, he is. He's worth more
by quite a lot.
Yeah.
Which only gives people more incentive to want to control and drug him if that's what they wanted to do.
I guess, like, I know it's a simplistic worldview for me, but like in the absence of like a form that says she suffers from this diagnosed condition, like I'm just not gonna ever be for the state or any individual, especially like a family member who financially benefits from doing it to you, that's proven themselves to be untrustworthy. Like that's maybe
just put Charles Sophie in charge.
Maybe the greatest tragedy of all of this is it proves that when that much money is involved and you have family of low moral fiber, that there's really nobody you can trust, and that's the real tragedy, right? It's that there's nobody that could come into her life that could help her do this without some type of court order or forced behavior.
All of this could be made up, though, because a different anonymous source went to Entertainment Weekly and said Britney is not broke. She could benefit from being more careful with her cash. For over a decade, other people were in charge of her bank accounts. Every purchase had to be reported to the court, even if it was just a pack of gum. But now she's on her own. She is at the point of recoupment with her $15 million publishing deal and earns very significant royalties for her book. Sold more than 2 million copies. So TMZ's reports are grossly exaggerated.
Imagine if she like just did a thing called like one song a year, independently published.
It's all or nothing.
Made
for her,
one song every year and used that as financial backup, like
with a voice double.
Yeah,
too. Here's Tim's take. I just wanted to add. He said, I love how the Free Britney thing just destroyed her life. And then Matt Walsh quote tweeted and said, I said at the time that this would happen, and I got ripped to shreds for it. A bunch of idiots got caught up in a hashtag campaign to free a dysfunctional, self-destructive, mentally ill woman from a conservatorship that had been put in place to stop her from destroying herself. Now she's destroying herself. Anyone with an IQ above 40 could see this coming.
My question isn't whether they saw it coming. My question is whether first of all, the conservatorship was put in place by somebody who was mistreating her father, right?
Allegedly yes.
Mistreating her, or at least being irresponsible.
Yeah.
We're all going to see this from a view that's not even optimal anyways, because none of us know the inside details about what's going on here. And if she was just a celebrity who had never been put under a conservatorship and just acted weird, Doja Cat does that all the freaking time. Nobody tries to 5150 Doja Cat.
Is it because she's younger?
I guess she posts ridiculous, weird videos all the time. Britney is just boomerang it.
Britney kind of was like the trailblazer for being publicly unhinged, because now it's just considered normal. Nobody blinks an eye. But yeah, that was Britney's doing. I mean, I think it's not fair to say she was destroying herself before the conservatorship, because she was truly psychologically a different person. Now she is the unhinged person they accused her of being all those years ago.
Yep.
That's the unfortunate thing. And I think that it's not lack of medication that she's acting like this. It's that she was overloaded with medications
I saw sketch
for
therapy.
way too long.
Sketch therapy also said she's on drugs. She needs more drugs, not less. Look, I can't confirm that, but erratic behavior does obviously smell of drug use, but I can't know that. I can't know that for
no
sure.
one can.
Like, unless she's ending up in the drunk tank or getting pulled over with, vials of drugs and stuff like that. I can't know that. But erratic behavior, one or the other. Look, I guess maybe my unsophisticated worldview isn't right here, but
some people are actually crazy.
She's got money. She can spend her money how she wants, and making a crazy Instagram video and dancing with knives does not mean you force drugs into her. And anybody who saw the way things went before means that she would be rightly weary of anyone coming into her life and saying, allow me to be the one to take care of you.
Well, that's why I was immediately suspicious of the ex that she was recently seen with, Paul Solis, I believe his name was, the felon. Yeah. Just anyone who's involved in her life, I'm immediately side-eyeing them. But it still seems like such an incredibly hellish and empty life that she's living with no friends or no one she can trust. And she's just spiraling in her mansion with endless money to spend, but no one to be with. And it's just really sad what's happened to her. And I genuinely hope that she ends up okay. And if she is on drugs, I hope that she gets clean. But I don't know that, and no one actually knows that. They're just, preaching about it as if they do.
There's a lot of celebrities we could talk about who have weird behavior. Madonna does weird shit all the time.
Nobody calls for Madonna to be in a conservatorship. What's that about?
I'd call her to be put into a convent so I don't have to look at her in those clothes. But that's just
or in prison. Honestly, that would be just.
There's a believe it or not, guys, there's a whole market for people who are crazy and do crazy stuff online. Maybe she's just bad.
How about Cheeseball Guy? They didn't put Cheeseball Guy in a conservatorship.
Maybe the thing is that Britney's just so good at it.
They're just jealous.
The
haters are just jealous. Britney's looking gorgeous, and the haters are just jealous.
We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go to Super Chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, Mamala, thanks, I hate it. So do I.
I agree.
Hiroshima Otaru said Seinfeld actually talked about it years ago.
Yeah, and over the years, I also remember him making fun of YouTube as well. He kind of talked down about YouTube, about how it wasn't.
Well, that didn't age well.
Yeah.
When was that?
2018 or 2019 or something like that.
That's well after you should have known. Hey, buddy, YouTube replaced Hollywood.
Yep, long time ago.
Perturbed Alpaca said cucked beta males see virtue signaling as a Sigma move, especially when railing against something that regular males say is inoffensive.
Like what?
A Sigma move.
Oh, okay. So they're saying he's addressing my point when I'm saying the offended dudes in Hollywood who got their liberal arts degree and then went to film school and are now going to be offended because your joke might upset someone who is part of the Free Palestine movement. They're saying that if they can draw attention to this joke and be this is offensive, they think that they're cool and they're the outlier from the group because they called attention to it.
I guess. There were so many buzzwords in that one phrase. I was kind of confused. Cucked beta male see virtue signaling as a Sigma move. Jared Price said if people think writers' rooms work, please introduce them to a DM to player dynamic in D&D. 6 people go 6 directions as the dungeon master is losing their mind trying to keep it on track.
Yeah. Yep.
Same dynamic.
Let's do one more.
Known Undesirable said, weird that Aaron is so silent on this issue now. Ooh.
Let's disavow. Ooh. All right, let's move on. Then this is a very extensive topic.
Yeah, we've talked about AI girlfriends and AI boyfriends on the show previously, but it's come up again in a debate on Twitter because in Japan, they are now opening VTuber bars. And at these bars, you can sit down with an alcoholic beverage of your choice and a 2-dimensional anime woman of your choice and I guess attempt to make conversation instead of talking to a real woman. It raises the question of are AI girlfriends or possibly VTubers going to replace real women in society?
I laugh because, again, you know that I watch a lot of old television shows, and one of the things you still see to this day is how they would joke about the silly nature of online dating. And it's imagine meeting somebody on the internet. Right? Society keeps moving. And
this is what people scoff at now.
And as ridiculous as this concept seems, I refer back to point A, that they thought online dating was crazy at one point.
Yes. I mean, but at least when it came to online dating, you were still trying to make a human connection through a tool that was digital. Correct. This is trying to make a connection with a non-existent collection of pixels.
It's the natural outcome of all those people trying to make the digital connection and then having it not work.
I guess so. Yeah. So let's take a look at the VTuber bar. This guy called Niche Gamer posted about it. This I guess he like did a review. It looks so creepy without any music. It's just like silent in there.
ここはどういうお店なんですか?
ここは VTuber と一緒にお酒が飲めるお店です。
じゃあ一緒に飲みましょ
う。はい、ぜひ。
There you go.
And I guess that's supposed to be an actual person responding to you, maybe? Not an AI, because in case any of you are unfamiliar with what a VTuber is, I just felt like I should explain it to you. It's a virtual YouTuber. So an online entertainer, usually a streamer, who uses a virtual avatar generated using computer graphics. Real-time motion capture software or tech are often, but not always, used to capture movement. It originated in Japan in the mid-2010s and has become an international online phenomenon in the 2020s, for better or for worse. Mm-hmm. So it's literally just somebody using motion capture to disguise themselves, I guess, as usually an anime avatar and talk to you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of VTubers also have a voice changer. So in real time, your voice is also getting changed and disguised as well. Kind of creepy in my opinion, but
I always wish they had actually, there was like the
popular.
In the movie Scream 3, he doesn't just have a voice changer, he has a voice changer that will do other people's voices. Mm-hmm. Like in real time, which it's a single device that does this, which was not real at the time. And I wish that was a thing to this day. Wish I could get one.
Niche Gamer said that this is a new type of bar opening in Japan where patrons can buy a drink and chat with VTubers thanks to a screen built into the wall. It's a new bar reminiscent of Japanese hostess/host clubs where patrons come to buy drinks and enjoy the company of women and men, although the company has compared them more to con cafes. So those hostesses or hosts, usually hostesses, they're basically prostitutes that are paid just to like hang out with you.
Well, certainly in every Hollywood movie, it's it's a member of the Yakuza who runs the hostess club.
Right. Yeah. So I saw that the Quartering responded to this post. He said, IRL women are being replaced faster than they know. You think birth rates are bad now? Just wait. Do you think that this could be an overreaction, or is he right? That's the question of the day, I guess.
I mean, I think that the most salient point there is about the birth rates, honestly, and he's right. Like the birth rates are collapsing. So is the idea here, because you wanted to draw attention to Lauren Southern's?
Well, he got into like a back and forth with Lauren Southern because, I mean, they started arguing, but I don't even know what they were arguing about. So she said, IRL women are being replaced faster than they know. And she posted just a screenshot of the VTuber because it obviously doesn't look or resemble anything like a human being. He said, if you don't think men are choosing AI girlfriends over IRL, you're not paying attention. In 5 years, the pleasure bots will be the choice of many men. Laugh now, let's see. And she responded, no man is choosing an AI girlfriend over a real girlfriend. 0. There are a small minority of guys pretending they're choosing AI girlfriends over real ones because they're incapable of formulating the latter. It's the most obvious nuclear level cope. So she's not claiming there's not a market demand for AI girlfriends. I think exactly what she's claiming is the market that exists for an AI girlfriend or a VTuber bar or what have you. It's the group of men in society that some may call the incels. Mm-hmm. It's the group of men in society whose options are non-existent, whose human options don't exist, at least theoretically, or the ones who have opted out of being in any way a prospect to the opposite sex. So you're not really doing an either or here of what will I pick? Will I pick this human woman who's interested in me, or will I pick this AI girlfriend who exists at the VTuber bar?
Yep.
It's more so like, well, there aren't any real women interested in me. I'm going to resign to that reality and despair and choose porn and AI instead
over
as a consolation
perhaps
prize.
Working on myself and improving the things that could allow me to actually attain a real world girlfriend.
At the very least, things that are in your control.
Yes.
As much as society makes it difficult for people to pair up these days, which is true. Like, it's not all someone's fault if they're single. But people have known that birth rates are plummeting in Japan, specifically, for a long time now. And you can point to the virtues of a society that's built like that, but they also have a lot of deep-seated issues. Porn included, consumerism included, secularism included. Just because the public transport is clean and there's low crime, it doesn't mean they don't have issues going on in their society. They're much more catastrophic, actually. But the same thing in the West. The birth rates are low and our streets are dirty and there's homeless people everywhere. So I guess, pick your battles. But he said, counterpoint, they are 100%, he said they 100% are choosing AI girlfriends over real girlfriends, he means. And evidence is everywhere proving it. Women asked for this. And she said, show me this mythical man who actually has real relationship prospects that is choosing an AI girlfriend for a relationship instead of a pornographic fantasy. They do not exist. And he replied, actually, ironically, with a story about women choosing AI boyfriends, which we have talked about, but this is apparently turning into a phenomenon where young Chinese women are turning to AI boyfriends because they're, quote, better than real men. So this girl is a 25-year-old Chinese office worker who has an AI boyfriend who is, quote, kind, empathetic, and they talk for hours.
Doesn't this kind of negate a little bit of the point? Because if there's anybody that has options, no matter who, it's always going to be women. Like, women will have options.
Yeah,
like,
that's been the story as old as time.
So, like, if women who have options are turning to AI boyfriends, then...
Maybe in a different culture, like in Chinese culture, it's different.
Yeah, perhaps.
Right? Because, they had the one-child policy for so long. They eradicated that, but now are finding that they can't raise the birth rates, even after the totalitarian rules about it were revoked. And in Japan, it seems to just be like a cultural problem that was never enforced on people. It's just like the state of decadence.
Yeah.
When you have everything you want and nothing you actually need.
I guess when the Red Knight says no, it is not different in China. I don't know. I can't speak to that. I guess when I look at this story, I look at the larger picture of like how dating in general has changed. Yes, it is true that even when you were online dating all those years ago, you were still attempting to find like a real world human connection. But humans have an amazing ability to change and adapt to all sorts of things that may have been seen as weird or odd even just 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I don't think that it's ever going to replace real world dating, but I think that there's discussions. Like there was also things that were going on here that they were talking about. I know like they're talking, this is one response says, Lauren, you have no idea about the statistics and realities for young men. Double the young men are single compared to young women. Who are the women dating? Older established men sharing the same talking points we've heard over and over again, that they're sharing the same top percentage of high value men. Obviously dating apps played a huge role in that. And it's a very real problem that has to be solved, because birth rates plummeting is going to be very, very difficult, because that's also a cultural issue. Like, or at least it seems to me that that's a cultural issue, that white Americans are doing that. I don't know if that's necessarily the true for birth rates for,
There are so many different like overlapping issues.
Yeah.
I guess like yeah, in a country like this one, there's like white self-hatred at play. There is, this battle of the sexes energy that has totally taken over the dating culture for young people. There is feminism. There is pornography. Pornography is a huge factor.
Yeah. I saw Matt Walsh
was
talking about that recently.
Yeah, and to just sit there, like the people in his replies saying like, oh yeah, porn has nothing to do with the fact that male virginity rates are on the rise. Like, bro, you are just coping so hard.
I do agree. It's like a lot of people point out, they say like whole societies have been built based on the sex drive of men.
Yes.
To accomplish, to prove themselves worthy, and to bring the women that they love in their lives along to greater heights. Mm-hmm. That's a real thing.
And now that is being directed into a tissue. I'm sorry, but it's true. Like, and people denying that in his replies were just like, in my mind, they were just so delulu. But yeah.
I mean, some people did.
And I'm not even trying to make this a targeted thing, by the way, because like, I think if you are dating an AI chatbot, if you're a man or a woman, I look down on that behavior, and it's not conducive to actual intimacy or actual fulfillment in life, because human beings have souls. An AI doesn't have a soul. It's not the same thing on any level.
I think a lot of other people would also draw, like, a lot of it is like, and I do think that there's a lot of nihilism connected to a lot of this. For the men in this situation, it's nihilism about the idea that it's never going to get better. I'm never going to be able to change myself. I'm not going to be able to find anyone. But there's nihilism in the idea that they don't want to start a family because, I'm never going to own a home, and I'm working for the same wage I did 10 years ago as cost of living increases. There's nihilism in giving up there
climate
for a lot
propaganda.
of people. I mean, I
go down the list.
I mean, I think that even for people who don't buy into climate propaganda, understand that you're working for stagnant wages as cost of living increases. All of this on top of a sex drive that is being redirected elsewhere and things. It's kind of a perfect storm of factors that are contributing to a lot of demographic and birth changes in the world. And these things, it's weird to me because I look at something like this and it'll always seem kind of odd, like interestingly odd, as something that I'll enjoy reading about but would never understand inherently. Mm-hmm. But I also get that my life experience is very different from others. There was a long period of time where my life was a disaster, and where I was pretty much alone entirely. And though this isn't a direction I would have ever gone, I would have gotten where the impulse, I would have understood where the impulse came from people who were at their lowest, struggling, suffering, saw no way out, see a society that doesn't value them, doesn't offer them a path forward or any encouragement. Like, all of these very, very tempting factors that are used as crutches to deal with your problems are there, and very hard to say no to when you see no way out. And on top of the issues that you mentioned, feminism as one specifically,
birth control,
and all of this, and
no fault divorce.
It's a perfect
You could literally
storm.
name all of these factors all day long.
I felt like Jeremy and her were talking past each other a little bit.
They were.
As are most disagreements on Twitter. But it's certainly, it's one of the more dark debates to have that I do find. I find myself very emotionally divorced from just about everything we talk about. It's just
probably for the best.
It's just easier that way.
You sent me this somewhat lighthearted take. Japanese women are literally begging to be impregnated, but Japanese dudes are busy inventing and using the most complex gooning machines ever conceived.
Yeah.
Conceived, no pun intended.
Yes.
It's a sad state of the world. Really.
It does connect with me a little bit, because there was a period of time before I had this job where, after getting sober the first time, before my relapse, where I was struggling. I was in a really, really bad place. And though I was perhaps never outwardly that hopeless, I understand those impulses. So I get it. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to Super Chats.
All right.
Let's get a third crisis party to brighten up the mood before the show
we
ends.
thought that was going to be a fun, lighthearted topic.
AI girlfriends, am I right, guys?
Look where it went. Okay.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Bob's your uncle.
Shane H. Wilder said, why is the first thought to drug people? It's stupid.
I agree.
Yeah.
We just call him Mr. Pfizer.
Generally, not good to force drugs into people.
Yeah, why is it that, like, I guess, like, would their logic have been like, look, you need this COVID shot for your own good?
It's literally, it's kind of like treating female hysteria with a lobotomy. It's just the 21st century version.
Did anybody try feeding her?
No, she actually needs, like, someone needs to take her to Chick-fil-A.
Like, seriously.
She doesn't have Chick-fil-A out there in California.
Get that woman something to eat and maybe a mani-pedi.
Yeah.
And a spot.
She needs it. Carnell said, Brett, would it be considered a red flag if Britney traded in her Samsung Galaxy 4 for an iPhone?
No. The age of the Samsung Galaxy is outweighs the fact that it's an iPhone.
As long as she gets an iPhone 11.
I got so misrepresented in that whole debate we had last time. My point wasn't that the phone needs to be a piece of crap. My point was a less materialistic person is something that I find attractive. Therefore, somebody who doesn't have to have the newest phone, that's a green flag for me.
It got misconstrued, and I definitely contributed to that. So
thank you.
Sorry, not sorry. Shane H. Wilder said Mary hit the nail on the head. They overloaded her with drugs in her conservatorship, and now this is what you get. Yeah. I mean, imagine not being able to, like, think or defend yourself.
Yeah.
It's terrifying, kind of. Corey Anderson said, back in black, I like it. Well, Brett's wearing red, at least.
I made I said to myself, I said I should try to wear, like,
wear a different color every day.
I'm one of those people where I have just like a bunch of clothes that just never gets worn because I like what I like. And I wear
well, then just get rid of the clothes that you don't like.
But I'm saying, like, the point is I can wear it. I just need to convince myself to do it more often. It's just so easy to wear all black every day because it matches everything.
I have a lot of clothes that I don't wear, but my wham and logic is, oh, that's for a different occasion, or that needs to go with this thing that I don't have yet, or
there you go.
Whatever.
See, I would wear like better colors on IRL because it would offset the horrible lighting in there back in the day.
Well, now you don't have to worry about that. Shane H. Wilder said, virtual BF is creepy. It seems like an excuse for people to act perversely instead of meeting real people and getting married. It's demons, incubi, succubi. I totally believe that demons can, like, possess a digital persona, I guess.
Almost every cop show that I've ever watched does at least one episode where, like, there's a guy who's got like a doll that's like that he treats as his girlfriend, and the guy is generally portrayed as nutty. I feel like if they did that episode now,
well,
it would be portrayed as like normal.
What's the movie with Ryan Gosling again?
Oh, I forgot.
The one that Shane said he loves.
They're not that's not what they're doing in these episodes, though. It's literally
Lars and the Real Girl.
Yes, Lars and the Real. But in this one, it's portrayed as like, look at this guy, he's so weird talking to this doll who's not talking back. But guess what? They never 5150 the guy in those episodes.
Yeah. Da Bob said Hooters is just an American-made cafe.
There you go. It's its own hostess bar.
Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't have things like that.
What's your thought on, like, the parents taking the kids to Hooters?
That's probably weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird no matter what the context is, really, right? Like, have you been to a Hooters?
I've never gone to. Have I been to? I think I might have been to one years ago. Well, out on tour. I might have been.
As long as you're not, like, you know, going on a family trip to Hooters or something.
A little weird.
Weird. There are ones that are more, like, they dress them like more risque than Hooters does, like by far. So it's not as bad as it could be. But yeah, Shane H. Wilder said, Brett, you've got red on you.
Yes, I do. Guys, I say I want a third crisis party. Guys, come on. Are you going to make me stay here all day? Don't make me stay here
We're
all
not
day.
that far away, right?
We're getting pretty close there.
But they didn't count the first two.
We are $10 away.
Right, yeah.
$10 away. We can do it.
For just pennies a day, you can fund this failed podcaster's lifestyle.
I like that idea of doing an infomercial. Like we're in black and white, and we look somber and miserable.
Are we gonna, like, starve ourselves for a few days before we film it so we look kind of gaunt?
Yes. We can do that.
Like, we need super chat money.
I mean, I'm not that good at starving myself, but I can try. I'm not that good at that. I can try.
We still need to do a mukbang episode.
That would be interesting to like.
As long as it's foods that are not messy. Like,
what we could do is we could put like we could zoom the.
Thank you, Francisco Sanchez Jr.
Like we could zoom the PTZ like just on the table so that the only thing that can be seen is just like the food.
We got $10 from Francisco Sanchez Jr. without a message, but thank you for the crisis party.
It's gonna take some time here for it to catch up, but luckily for us, the meter is working again.
Someone said Hooters food sucks. I don't think people go there for the food primarily.
Usually not.
Right?
That would be my guess that they don't. But,
Shane H. Wilder said, hey, I gave you a week's worth yesterday. Get off my back.
Well, I wasn't directing it at you specifically, Shane.
Yeah. If you need to like not super chat, then don't. Please. Don't go broke for us. That's not what we want.
All right.
Are we going to settle the poll, by the way?
Yes. Good call. Thank you. I knew this was going to be the answer. Our audience prefers
Seinfeld. I mean, of course.
Seinfeld. Yeah, I didn't believe that our audience, for any
Friends
stretch of
is
the
girl
imagination, was
choice.
going to appreciate Friends over
Actually
Seinfeld.
Perfectly shows our gender divide demographic right there.
Kind of, yeah.
A quarter of our audience, it says on YouTube analytics, is female.
Roughly a quarter of our audience. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's looks to be it. Waiting for the $5 to catch up there. It might have been off a little bit because of the 2 that came in before. Oh, another one here from Shane H. Wilder.
He said, LOL, just kidding. I actually budgeted for it.
Oh,
LOL.
my dude.
Wow. The dedication. I mean, it's truly appreciated. Thank you.
And then one more there from DC&C.
He said, Apple effing sucks, Mary. Don't back down, Brett. Apple doesn't suck. He just doesn't like the latest Apple.
I had an iPhone up through the 4. Or, I'm sorry, through the 5. I had like the 3G.
5
the 4,
was
and
like
5.
about just where they needed to end the improvements.
Yeah.
After that, like if the iPhone 5 was still usable and it didn't have, you know, the battery issues which are intended to happen.
My phone is now exactly 2 years old. It is suddenly.
Yeah, if it didn't do that, like I would have an iPhone 5 right now.
Oh,
I would prefer it.
I got a question for everyone before we go. I watched a video on this from a prominent YouTuber. Leaving your phone plugged in overnight, is it actually bad for the battery?
Oh, come on. Really?
There is heated debate about this.
But the iPhone stops it from charging all the way to 100 if it knows that you're charging it overnight.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually do the thing you're saying it does.
It was really funny. So it fixed it with this version of it. But like when my my last Galaxy, I believe before this I had like an 8 or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
When it would be plugged in and charging, it would like show that it was plugged in always on screen, which just seemed like a waste of battery while charging.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like, but on this, like when it finishes charging and it reaches 100%, it doesn't show up on screen anymore because it's not taking up excess battery to do that.
Right. I think they already fixed that problem.
Yep. All right. Oh, right there. James Oliver still got an 8+. I've never bought the pluses. I've got like this isn't, and mine is like quite a few years old as well. This is like a 20 FE.
My last was an 8, and I tried to keep it till the very end.
I told you. I said I was.
It just crapped out at one day.
I also told you that I said one of the things that I thought was very charming was like you didn't bring your phone everywhere you went. You just like you'd go downstairs and just talk to people.
Remember when there were people here to talk to?
Well, you know, like you didn't feel the need to have it with you all the time.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's mostly because I'm, like we were talking about off air, incapable of multitasking. If I have my phone and I'm looking at it, I can't listen or watch anything else.
PJ Edwards, that's the video that I'm talking about. Yeah, he says your battery doesn't like being over 80% or under 20%. Well, those are just restrictions I can't live by.
That's lame.
I can't live by those restrictions. And then one more here from Tacty Platty says my Android phone also stops full charge. Apple is.
But the Apple does that.
I swear. They're gonna stand by those words. They're gonna tell you that Apple's bad. Look, I just think that you shouldn't like be a team player on one or the other.
Consumerist.
That's just very consumerist, and it's the same.
It's exactly
way
what you hate is the materialism.
Yeah.
But
Mac and PC people are the same way.
Brett, it's Taco Tuesday, as Shane H. Wilder pointed out. Are you going to Sheetz today?
No, if I did, I'd go to the other taco place over here that I've come to really,
so you're
enjoy.
bougie now.
Yes.
So you're a bougie taco.
I'll go to Sheetz. Well, no, because you end up spending more at Sheetz because you get other stuff.
True.
So
they trap you. They trap you because you feel like, like before you get to the checkout screen, they're like, oh, you want to add this?
Yeah.
You little freak.
Like, oh, do you want some fries? I'm like, I don't normally eat fries with tacos, but sure.
And you kind of start crying.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, here, we're gonna make your food. You look to the right. Would you like some candy? Would you like an energy drink? Perhaps a tea.
Yeah.
And then you end up spending more money rather than going to the taco place where you get the chips and salsa and you sit there and you enjoy it. I might go there after work today.
Okay.
It is Taco Tuesday. Perhaps I shall post a picture.
Brett.
Is that me now? And then now somebody's going to be like, and people who like expensive tacos are a red flag.
True. They're materialists.
I get crapped on for ages for liking gross Sheetz tacos, and now I'm getting crapped on for liking better tacos. I can't win.
Shane H. Wilder said, just go to Taco Bell. Live Moss, Brett. Live Moss.
It would cost me more in gas money to go to Taco Bell around here.
I'm trying to find out what the Taco Bell drop is today. They have like new stuff on Tuesdays, but don't like blow up the spot. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Wait, let me see. There's a taco discovery box.
Eugene says
That's
lotto
lame.
tickets, Brett. No, I worked at a gas station. Like I managed a small gas station for years. You couldn't pay me to get lottery tickets and get addicted to scratch offs and stuff like that. Never gonna happen.
$5 for 3 tacos. What do you think of that? Is it worth it?
Like just like regular soft shell or hard shell?
You get a Doritos Locos taco, crunchy taco, and the Cantina Chicken Crispy taco, and a drink.
Well, I don't want a Cantina Crispy Chicken. That's like
you're forcing me to, pick these things.
That sounds bougie to me, and I don't want it.
It's $5. It's not bougie. If it's $5, it's not bougie.
Well, with a title like what was it?
Cantina? Yeah, they're like forcing you to buy their weird chicken.
No, thank you. You're not getting me addicted to that either. And yes, no lotto tickets for me. Do you ever buy lottery tickets?
No. What do you take me for?
A fool? All right, guys. Before we go, hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel, please, if you have not done so already. Thank you guys again for making yesterday's episode 600, so awesome. It's a great thing to be able to do this show, so thank you guys for that. Mary, where can they find you?
Yes, you can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
All right, guys, if you want to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. PCC is here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify, if you would prefer to listen rather than watch. And if you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook, and not TikTok, because we and them soon will be banned at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We will see you then. Bye.
Bye.